We'll call the meeting to order. We're back from closed session. The announcement from closed session is information received and direction given. No reportable action for today's meeting. The Pledge of Allegiance. Do we have some? Oh, here we go. Welcome, folks. Just a minute. We got some folks here going to. Yes, there you go. You're on.
All right, thank you for having us this afternoon. These are three of my student council representatives from Ophir Elementary School.
My name is Riley Murray. Saying the Pledge of Allegiance helps form a connection to our country, the United States of America. When we say the Pledge of Allegiance, we honor the flag and everything it represents.
My name is Brooklyn. We are a country with a diverse population. Saying the Pledge of Allegiance instills a sense of patriotism for all people.
My name is Envy Rivera. We say the Pledge of Allegiance to start our day at school, to begin official meetings or ceremonies, and we honor the flag at special events like ball games. We would like to lead you in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Salute.
Pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
They were a little fast.
Girls?
Thank you. Thank you. Kids. Thank you again for leading us in the pledge. This is Riley. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, again, we thank Ophir School for providing the students to do that. It's a good thing they do for us. Adoption of the agenda is next item up. Any motion for adoption of the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please. Okay, there it goes. Okay, we're working.
Motion passes with 7 yeses.
Thank you. Next item is presentations and proclamations. We have item number 1 for a resolution recognizing the 5-year anniversary of the 2018 campfire and designating November 8th of each year as the Campfire Remembrance Day.
Would you like to read that, Mr. Mayor? We have this is a proclamation to as camper.
Please do.
No. Oh.
It's coming up on the 5 years of since the campfire. It's hard to believe, but November 8th. The city wanted to recognize it with a resolution, and then we will also deliver the resolution to the town of Paradise. Oh, you want? Oh, I get to read it. Okay. All right, Oroville City Council Resolution Number 9191. This resolution recognizing the 5-year anniversary of the 2018 campfire and designating November 8th of each year as the Campfire Remembrance Day. Whereas November 8th, 2018, Butte County experienced the deadliest and most destructive wildfire in California history, the campfire. And whereas more than 19,000 structures were damaged or destroyed, including 14,000 homes, 85 people perished that day, and 153,336 acres burned. And whereas the city employees, community organizations, private business and individuals, faith-based organizations, state and federal governments, and mutual aid partners from throughout the state and the nation came together in emergency response and continue to come together in recovery efforts, assisting where needed in addition to their daily responsibilities. And whereas the Oroville City Council recognizes selfless and endless giving spirit of our employees, residents, and partners. And whereas November 8th, 2023 marks the 5-year anniversary of the campfire. And the anniversary provides us an opportunity to reflect on past 5 years, acknowledge the challenges of our communities have faced, honor those whose lives were lost, recognize our residents who were harmed and/or displaced, and give thanks to all who stepped up to assist throughout the rescue, response, and recovery efforts. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Oroville City Council, in recognition of the 5-year anniversary of the campfire, do hereby proclaim the following. November 8th is recognized as the Campfire Remembrance Day. And 2, everyone is encouraged to take part in a moment of silence each year on November 8th at 11:08 a.m., no matter where you are. And the public is asked to reach out and help where you can, thank those who assisted in response and recovery efforts, and embrace the compassion and resilience of Butte County and its residents. Passed and adopted the Oroville City Council the 7th day of November by the following vote. Thank you all. It will remember us well. I attended a ceremony at the Capitol last week, and it was very moving to see it all happen, and just, we got to remember that date. Thank you all.
Mr. Mayor, if I
Yes,
might,
sir.
this does require a motion and a second and a vote.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I move. Second.
Moved and seconded. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, just as a reminder, they are tomorrow on November 8th at Paradise Community Park, right across the street from the police department on Black Olive Drive.
Oh, yes.
At 10:30 a.m. there is a memorial ceremony. They're going to do they're going to have a big time capsule that they're going to seal, and then at 11:08 they'll have 85 seconds of silence for the 85 victims of the campfire.
Thank you, sir.
Everyone's attended,
Yep.
or everyone is invited to attend.
All right.
Perfect. And thank you. With that, it passes with 7 yeses.
All right. Thank you all. And thank you for that information for Paradise. All right. Next item is public communication, hearing of non-agenda items. Do we have any slips?
We sure do. We will begin with Bill Spear and follow that with Amy Finkenkeller.
Spear.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, the verse for today is actually Psalms 100, and it says, "Shout for joy to the Lord, all the earth. Worship the Lord with gladness. Come before him with joyful song. Know that the Lord is God. It is he who made us. We are his people, the sheep of his pasture. Enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. Give thanks to him and praise him. For the Lord is good, and his love endures forever. His faithfulness continues through all generations." That's for in honor of Thanksgiving, which is coming up. And we have so much to be thankful for. And when we give thanks and we give praise, all of the issues and the problems aren't so big. So, Father, we thank you for your word. We thank you that we can give thanks, that we can boldly enter in to your presence, saying thank you for all that you've done. Thank you for getting us through the campfire, getting us through the flood, getting us through the plague, all the things that have come against us. And here we are in your presence, giving thanks and praising you. Bless this holiday service. Bless our city council this evening. Continue to give them wisdom, guidance, and direction in our city. Continue to give us supernatural provision, supernatural guidance, and anointing. As we are the county seat that other cities would look to see what is going on in Oroville. And when they look really deep, they will see your fingerprints. They will see what you are doing. We pray for the YMCA. We pray for that you would bless them in this as they're looking to move forward. We thank you for all that they've done, all the plowing and planting and watering and pouring into the youth, and they have made a difference. And we pray blessings for them. We pray for the rescue mission and continue to lift them up in prayer and pray for amazing provision, you continue to use them more than ever to reach the least of these. The Hope Center and all the churches and all the service groups. Thank you for the Veterans Day parade that's coming up. We honor them. Bless our police and our fire. And all we say and do, let it bring glory and honor to you. In Jesus' holy name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Up next, we have Amy Finkenkeller.
Going on. I've noticed, I've had a real awakening that a lot of people are sitting in positions where they state that they are wanting to help me and they have failed to do so. I have been living in an apartment for over 7 years. The place has flooded 8 times. The owner refuses to give me new carpet or to clean the floors. I addressed a mold situation over 8 months ago, and I had code enforcement come in, I had Section 8 come in, I had the landlord come in, all in which they all swept it under the rug and just pretended as if nothing was going on and it didn't need to be addressed. I was told by Section 8 to take it to legal services, in which they told me that they will not deal with mold and that I would have to take it up with that they would go to discrimination. And I said, well, there's a lot of property managements here in town that maybe, I might later on want to rent from. I don't really necessarily want to go that route. Mold is it's more important to deal with for my kids and I's health. Well, the last time it flooded, the previous time before the last time it flooded, they told me to put some towels down and put a fan on it. Well, I had to use all my towels and I didn't have a washer and dryer to do anything. In 2019, I had a gallbladder removal and a hernia. I immediately after that got pregnant. At 2 months old, my son was 2 months old, I broke my back. Right after that, I broke my right ankle in 4 different spots, sprained my left, re-injured my back, landed in a wheelchair, in which I had family friends help me get the stuff that I needed, which I'm so thankful for. But I've had a lot of people in positions that they're here to stand for me and to help me, and they have let me down big time. And I've had a very, I've been awakened with disappointment, but I want my voice to be heard as I am still continuing to be in a unsafety, hazardous environment with my 7-year-old and my 2-year-old, which are my world. I love them very much. It has been brought to my attention by doctors that they don't know what a toxin testing is. They won't do it. I've gone to clinics where they have told me that they like me and that I'm a good mom, and that to bark up that tree would be meaning that the city of Butte would turn around and get CPS involved and turn a case on me and try to take my children before they would address a mold situation. And as far as and I have knocked on many doors, just getting rejected one after the other.
Ma'am, you've hit your 3-minute time.
I have a question from me.
Sure, go ahead.
Take one, please.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
I have a question for you. Number one, sorry you're going through that. I know what that's like. So what specifically are you looking for from this council to do? I mean,
I have brought it to city council. for my email to be mass for everybody to get it. Basically, I want my voice to be heard. I want things to be addressed, and I want the help that I need and deserve to get my kids and I in a safe environment. And I am planning on trying to get this to news action because I am very aware that I am barking up a corrupt tree that needs to be addressed. And I would like to see everybody awakened by this visit.
Great, yeah. Mr. Huber, what is within the city's powers to, I had an apartment way back when, and every area that there was something against the wall, be it a bookshelf, there was mold that grew inside. Anyway, it was a different city, but I'm just wondering as far as, because I know there's so much, anyway, Mr. Huber, can you speak as far as what exactly we actually as a city council can do besides listen?
Well, the only thing that I can, again, I'm thinking of potential options, right? Most of the options that are available to a tenant are really civil in remedy. And most of them have to be done by the tenant themselves. That, as you mentioned, that does make it.
I've done several testings. I'm actually on my third, waiting for the results of air quality and some more swabs.
Most of what you'd need to do is you'd need to file, some kind of an action either in civil court or in small claims court. If it's above the small claims court, amount, then you can do it in civil court. And, that is one of the things you can do. Your contract does require all rental contracts for residential properties require habitability. Mold is really not compatible with habitability. So if there is mold there and you've got the testing to prove it, which it looks like you do, then you have an uninhabitable situation, which the courts can address with the landlord.
So maybe
get
just
damages there.
that's some information for you. So
It was brought to my attention, Section 8, Angie Little contacted me and had told me that the air quality testing was given to them and that it was normal, average air quality. And this test states otherwise, which has been tested several months later, in which I know that I have 30 days for the landlord to address the mold issue, and they waited 8 months. So I'm well aware that
Yeah, so your best avenue is to file something in court, to be quite candid with you.
Yes.
I'm happy to talk you through, I'll give you my card.
Absolutely.
I'm happy
I would appreciate that.
process if you like.
I'm
Happy to talk you through that.
sincerely yearning to find the right person to help me and guide me in the right direction to get through this and get past this so that my kids and I can have a fresh start.
Great, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Up next, we have Barbara Williams, followed by James Whitaker.
Agenda's a YMCA. Are you ready to hear?
Agenda item.
Oh, that's an agenda item.
Oh,
This is just for open public comment. So if you want to wait for YMCA, then that's fine.
I'll move that card to that item, and then we can proceed with James Whitaker.
Mr. Whitaker.
Yeah, so I'm not trying to come here to complain about anything. I just, kind of address a few things. I moved here about a year ago, and I transferred over, and I moved into the older part of town because I like the older architecture, and I think this part of the city's coming up again. And down the street on 7th in Pomona, there was a fire there, and I'm sure you guys are aware of that fire. I mean, I think you were there that day. And it happens, things happen, and it wasn't red tag. It's just somebody left the house, homeless person got in there, Garage. Yeah, exactly. And so, unfortunately, the structure's still standing, and it's still a dangerous part of the community. And there's a lot of kids that play there. I live there, not in that area, but close to it. And it's something that needs to be resolved. I think it's way past the window as far as litigating goes. So I think it's been since February, if I'm correct. So that definitely needs to be litigated and cleaned up because it's just, I think if it was in the right neighborhood, it would have been done a long time ago. But unfortunately, it's in a neighborhood where it doesn't get a lot of visibility, and there's not a lot of people, that have influence there. I can't speak to everybody, but not everybody does. And the second thing is, a couple of my neighbors are here also. There's a red tag. There's a lot of red tags in Oroville. And I like Oroville. I moved over here. I came from Mendocino. And I'm kind of, I don't understand the process exactly because 60 days is what you get for a red tag, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right? Are you the counsel? Who's the counsel?
Yeah, he's.
The attorney, okay. 60 days is what you get for a red tag, and then you start getting fined, right? I think that's state law, isn't that right? Okay, I could be wrong about that. But we have a house that's on 535 High Street, and it's been red tagged since the middle of summer at least. Is that right? And what's happening is that it's not being taken care of, and what I'm afraid of is that it's going to turn into, because there's no heat, there's no electricity to it because it's not fixed. And so you're getting multiple homeless people coming in there using H&S, and it's being called by the police. And the police are doing a good job. They're professional. They can only do so much, you know. And as far as Code 535 High Street, and code enforcement does a great job too. And they kind of get to this place where there's this part where they can't do anything else without litigation happening. And so the landlord, there's at times they had an open fire in the front yard, which they put out. The police responded. And I feel like if a fire starts there and we get wind, I feel like it could be devastating to a lot of people that live there. And there's not a lot of like high income people there. And I really want that to be looked at. I know my time's almost done. I don't want to be here complaining about everything. I just really would like some resolve on that and it to be looked at. And so I appreciate what you're doing. I don't know all my elected officials yet. I haven't voted for you guys yet. I'll get a chance to. But I appreciate your time and thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I may. I did speak to one of your neighbors this afternoon, and I definitely, no, that's okay, that's okay. No. I just want to let you know I'm committed. I'm going to be working with code enforcement and finding out where they're at. It is a lengthy process, and it depends on if the property owner is present or an absentee property owner. But I'm going to find out where we're at in the process and get back to your neighbor.
Can I talk?
Go ahead, answer his question for clarification.
I would like there to be some kind of constant, because what happens is you get these people that come off of Feather River, and then the pain clinic's right there, and they're using, and then one thing leads to another, and it gets really cold when it does, and there's going to be a fire in there.
Got it.
And I think it needs to be addressed.
Got it.
Thank you.
Well, appreciate that. Also, our code enforcement department head is away on training.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, he'd be here tonight, Mr. Belser, so.
Yeah, I knew you guys would get it done. I just wanted to address it.
And I can assure you that particular fire, the case was opened up on that, and there is a case file, I know for sure, so.
There is.
I just hate to see the kids playing around.
Right.
There's a lot of carcinogens, nails, just things that,
Right.
and it's just nice where, and it's a great neighborhood.
Yeah, we appreciate that, and you'll be seeing some follow-up. We have probably one of the larger code enforcement departments in any city. I mean, we have about 6 people in that, so it's an ongoing thing, and we certainly will get back to you and let you know what's going on. Thank you all.
Thank you. And then lastly, we have Linda Draper.
Oh, hello.
To see you all. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Nice to see your smiling faces. I wish I were here on a happy note, but I'm really here on kind of a freaked out note. And I have some petitions here signed by about 80 residents of my neighborhood, ages 18 and over. And we're really concerned about the traffic in our area. And this is not just traffic congestion. What we're talking about is really dangerous traffic conditions. We live 2 blocks east of Oroville High School. There's a stop sign at Yard Street and Hammond. It's run every day by about 50 drivers. Okay, Kirk has sat out there and kind of watched. And they run the stop signs. And then the other problem is they speed down Yard Street, they speed up Hammond Avenue, and they also speed around Mitchell and Boynton. A man on Boynton has had the side view mirror knocked off his truck several times on Boynton. There was an accident September 28th where a teenage driver wrecked a car and knocked down a power pole, believe it or not, right by Oroville High School. Knocked down a men's fence there on the corner of Linden and Hammond, or Linden and Yard. And he's not very happy, I'll tell you that. And it was all night that the power was off. all night. Now, if this was something unavoidable, we can deal with it, but this was avoidable. And my neighbor Merle is a sweet guy, retired firefighter, Mayor, and he's 90 years old. And in that night, when the power was off, he was stuck in an electric chair for 3 hours and could not get out because he lives alone. So this is not just an inconvenience where we got a few speeders. We've got people driving 40 to 65 and 70 miles an hour up Hammond and down Yard like it's a racetrack. And Boynton, is crazy. So I'm bringing this to your attention with the hope that you will understand why we're a little bit upset out there. Chrissy is my next door neighbor, so she can attest to the validity of this problem. There was a flat out in front of my house one morning. I found a 3-foot strip of leather from a rubber from a tire where a driver had blown the tire racing up the street. We get skid marks all the time. So this is really, really a bad situation. And according to the City of Oroville plan, local streets are intended to serve adjacent properties only and should enhance community livability, carry very little, if any, through traffic, and speed limits are generally 25 miles an hour. So we're asking for speed on Hammond and Boynton. We feel it's a serious matter. And it's not just a traffic problem, you guys. This is a quality of life problem. And I know a couple of young moms that think they're going to move because they're scared for their kids. One neighbor had their cat killed. It's getting to be bad. So I just wanted to be sure that you're aware. Yes. And I'm turning in the report to the traffic calming program tomorrow. And I found out that on your petition, you want email addresses and phone numbers, and I didn't get that on mine, so I'm going to have to redo some. But at any rate, thank you for listening, and I appreciate your being aware of this, and I'll let you know how this works out.
You bet. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, that was the last of the blue cards we had for public comment.
Okay. Thank you all. For anyone else that wants to make a non-agenda item, we do allow that at the end of the meeting too. So if you didn't want to do it right now, we can do it later. Administration reports.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have a couple just quick items to report out. We had our 4th meeting yesterday with Councilmember Goodson, Councilmember Thompson, and Mr. Belcher on the charter review. So I'm happy to report we are almost through that document. We have one more meeting scheduled next week, and then I believe we'll have some recommendations to bring before the entire council. So making some good progress there. And I also wanted to share with the council and really the public that the mayor and I had a meeting yesterday with county officials, and I just wanted to share that the county has retained a consultant to assist the county in determining if a revenue measure for library services would be supported, and specifically the initial efforts by the consultant is going to be doing some community polling to see if there is an appetite for either a sales tax increase or a parcel tax that would provide an ongoing funding revenue source for library services throughout the county. So just for your radar and the public's information, that will be coming out soon.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Any other department head reports? No. Police Chief LaGrone.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and Council. I just wanted to inform you that we have the security trailer down at the, behind the Oroville Inn. Used to be, I think, Putman's Antiques. Is that correct?
Yeah.
It was an antique store that burned down several years ago, and now it's turned into a quasi parking lot. But that's been down there. It's been successful so far. It has resulted in, I believe, 24 notifications to our dispatch over this weekend that we actually looked into to see what was going on down there. It appears that from having the deterrent of it there, that we have not had any vehicle burglaries, we haven't had any vandalisms, and we've had no cars stolen from that area. So the physical deterrent of it is great. It's also been very useful to us. There was vandalism that occurred that resulted in about a $2,500 window getting broken in our downtown. The trailer video was actually used. I used it myself to identify the subject that was walking through and verify that he was in the downtown area. So it has been useful in that manner. We're still testing it out. We're seeing about the GSA pricing on this or sole source, or whether we have to put it out to RFP, because there are other companies that also provide the same type of service. I know Mr. Ring and myself, we were on the phone with them today, and there could be a possibility of an expansion of the service or physical mounted units as opposed to a trailer, and also a company that would actually do the observation of it and report back whatever we're asking to have reported back from these trailers. So far, it's been a good experiment. I just wanted to update you on that. It's been free, hasn't cost us anything by the graciousness of LVT. So we are continuing to use it, and we will update you when we get closer to some sort of resolution.
I appreciate the thing that it's a deterrence, and to hear that nothing happened would be great.
Yes, I mean,
well, that's the end result, but it's good to hear that we've had at least 24 alerts that occurred.
Oh, yeah, we've had many more alerts than that. We've had 24 that we've actually looked into. I mean, one of them had alerted on a cat and things like that. So it's just, we got to get it dialed in. And one thing we have to do as well is we have to move it ourselves. I mean, from one location to another to ensure that, because I don't want to get down the road and having to hire somebody every time we need the thing moved. I mean, it should be fairly simple, but we're going to find out over the next couple weeks.
Thank you. Appreciate that report. Yeah, it's good to hear.
Mayor, I do have
Yes.
one as well. Thank you. Tomorrow night at the Southside Oroville Community Center, we have a workshop to create a vision for the Southside, for the Oroville Southside community. So we'd like to invite anyone who'd like to come down there and participate in this to come to the community center at 2959 Lower Wyandotte Road. And we have some planners that are donating their time to help us do this workshop and flush out a vision for that area. So if you can come, please do. What time? 6 to 8. Thank you for asking. 6 to 8.
Might mention on that, these are retired planners that decided to come back and help others, and they're a huge amount of experience coming from all over California. So it's a beneficial thing that they're doing for us, and we really appreciate their time and effort. I think our only cost is their expenses, if I remember.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
we just have to get them here.
Appreciate that. Any other department heads? Mr. Mayo.
Oops. There we go. So a few months back when I first got here, I was charged to do a survey of speeding, traffic speeds through school zones. And I just wanted to do a little bit of an update on that. It's interesting that I'm following after that comment.
Yeah.
So over the 3 school sites we picked, Wyandotte, Stanford, and St. Francis schools, over the week that we did this survey, we recorded 2,229 cars. Less than 1% of the cars that went through these 3 school zones were braking over between 26 and 30 miles an hour. 99% of the folks are actually, from what we recorded through our trailer tracking, were doing the speed limit or actually slower. I wanted to give that feedback to you guys. I was a little surprised when I got these numbers. I thought we'd have a few outliers of someone speeding really high speed, but the records show the vast majority were doing 25 miles an hour or lower through those 3 school sites. Having said that, and in light with what the citizen just did, I'm going to work with PD and try to get the trailer out off a yard over in that area, see if we can get some more information there to see if we need to put some of these high-vis crosswalk signs up there. So I just wanted to report that out.
Appreciate that. Anything to improve traffic enforcement is probably going to be well accepted here. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, if I may, just
Sure.
in light of the conversation with Ms. Draper and what you said, I mean, obviously maybe come back and regarding, because I'm familiar as well with the speeders in the area that she's mentioning and burnouts and all that's going on in the area. So if speed bumps or whatnot would be the solution, I'd be absolutely in support of that.
Okay. We'll definitely look into that for you guys, for sure.
You bet.
Thanks.
Any other department heads? Amy? Ruth? You got something later anyway. All right. Then we'll move forward. Next on the agenda is the consent calendar. Any council have any issues on the consent calendar?
I'd like to pull number 5.
Poll number 5. All right. Any others? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I motion to approve the consent calendar, removing number 5.
I'll second.
All right. The motion can call the roll, please.
Motion passes with 7 yeses.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I wasn't sure if there was any council announcements or reports I think we.
Did I miss that? I don't have it on mine. We'll do it later.
Okay.
At the end. Vice Mayor Smith, item 5.
Yeah, looking for some clarification with this placard program. I know Allison is the one that wrote the report, and she's not, I don't think she's here. But just, so there's a safety, hypothetically speaking, so there's an emergency. And we've seen a lot of these, of course, evacuations with fire, obviously spillway incident and other things that happen. And the mechanics behind declaring an area that's been impacted by an emergency. You know, I've lived out in the county for a long time. I've been evacuated many times because of wildfire. It's very disconcerting. In the town, not so much. You know, we haven't been in, other than the spillway incident, I think, obviously was a huge trigger. But this goes to personal property rights. And so I'm just trying to understand what that looks like. So Cal OES is involved. We draw a magical line around a particular part of the city that has an impact. It almost looks like the city, with this ordinance, we can just say, you know what, until we put a placard on you and say it's okay, you can't go back to your house. That's what it kind of looks, from a 30,000-foot view, that's kind of what it looks like to me.
That's correct.
So what are those processes and determinations, and who's in charge? I mean, do we relegate our authority to OES? I mean, you know, and just experiencing wildfire, you know, if you decide to stay in your home, you decide to, at your own peril. You decide to do that, and if you leave, you can't get back, obviously. So I'm just trying to understand a little bit of the mechanics. And again, it goes back to personal property rights and obviously the concern with emergency services, you know, fire, you know, now we have to go in and rescue, you put us at peril, and so we just want you out of our way, you know, the dynamics that are there. But maybe you can just help me understand that process, because, you know, being one that's experienced being told you got to leave because I'm in charge, and I'll decide when you can come back to your house. That's a weird, and if anybody's ever been through that, that's a weird feeling. And so I just kind of want to, how the city's looking at that, what your understanding is. And then again, going back to the mechanics, who's in charge? Are we relegating our authority to Sacramento? I mean, what's going on there? Help me a little bit with that.
Well, this would not just be for a whole area. This could be a building, this could be an engineer, and I'll ask Mr. Huber to help me if I'm getting in the weeds here, but this could be an engineer, the building official, the fire marshal, in any situation where a building or an area is unsafe. So, yes, it does put the power to have someone out of their house if it's an unsafe place to be. So, and I can tell you that I've heard, speaking with a fire chief in the past, he said that one of the things that puts his firemen in danger more than almost anything else is the people that won't go. Because once the fire reaches the point where they now are desperate to leave, now the firemen have to work with getting these people out safely while fighting the fire and protecting themselves. So it's not something that's done lightly. They won't just put things up there because they think they need to. The placards are up there for a purpose.
And then the other part of it is in the length of time. You know, sometimes this can go on for days, you know, where you have an area that's, and that's not just fire. As I read this, it's anything that the city decides is an emergency. So we're just, you know, like this, and we think that the dam's going to break, and so we evacuate the city. So, you know, it's just, I'm just kind of, looking at those processes, and then, you know, you're intruding on people's privacy and rights to exist in, you know, in their own home. And so this is a bit, at the end of the day, I think we're going to probably, at least I'm probably going to vote yes on this, but I just want to bring a heightened awareness to what was being asked of us and the authority and the power that we're relegating to those services. And I appreciate and I certainly respect CAL FIRE and all those that put their lives on the line. And that is a problem. I've talked with many firefighters, about the folks that do decide to stay behind and immense risk that puts, their lives if they have to step in and rescue. Of course, you're told if you decide to do that, you're at your own peril. But anyway, I just want to bring a real heightened awareness that this is just a thing that's on a consent agenda, but it's a kind of a big deal to privacy, personal rights, property, right to exist in the privacy of your own home. And there could be a difference of opinion as to what, into the future until I get that pretty little green sticker on my property. I'm looking at it, I can see it across the way, but I can't go in there or I'll be arrested. And those moments do happen where it's probably kind of okay, but until somebody waves the magic wand, you can't go there. And I just want to put a big, mark on that's what we're doing here.
Well, so if I could clarify one thing, that this is not, I want to change the distinction from the city to a qualified professional in a field that has the ability to determine if it's safe or not to go into a structure or into an area. So say Kayla couldn't say, you have a red tag on your door. I would have the authority if someone that's in my department tells me that needs to have a red tag on the door. But me, myself, I don't have the authority. I don't have the expertise to say that.
And that's perfect, because that's exactly what I'm talking about. That we're going to have an MOU with the Sacramento, and it's going to be Cal OES, the professionals that are going to call the shots, most likely. And I think it's important just to note that.
And if I can add, I think this is any location that experiences a disaster, there's got to be some checks and balances, right? And what I'm more concerned about here is there was two things that I think is good about this. One is for public spaces, making sure that if it's a restaurant or a mall or these facilities are safe and okay to occupy, but this also provides some uniformity throughout the state that everyone's using the same type of notifications on their placards. So hopefully it'll provide some public safety and some clarity.
Mm-hmm. I think just to add to a city experience, back in 2006, the city had the Oroville Inn that was in disrepair, and it was declared unsafe after 760 violations occurred. So it took a while to get there, and the Uniform Fire Code already gives us the ability to do this anyway. So this is nice to uniform it up, and it does take some professional qualified opinion before that is issued. And the fire chief at that time made a decision that the building was uninhabitable, and we removed 23 people from the building. It took us 3.5 hours because the elevators didn't work. So there's a little example of it and how the mechanism works. So appreciate the discussion, though. It's good for the public to know what's going on.
Yeah, and Mr. Mayor, if I could add, one of the important things, remember, you've got the green, the yellow, and the red. If you look at the red tag, right, which generally means you can't occupy that building, you can't go into the building, but remember, it does say on here, except as noted in writing. So when these individuals, again, this is after major calamities, large earthquakes, and again, this is,
right.
I will say these laws generally come from major metropolitan areas that have big issues, and then they sort of, it comes to the other areas. We don't typically have major earthquakes here, but in the event we had one, and you have this inspection process that's going on, some people will want to know before they go into a building, okay, what are the limitations of going into that building? Can I go in to get stuff and get out, or should I not go in at all? Is it that dangerous? And that's what will be written on these notices, particularly the red tag notices, because that's really the restrictions, right? But they will have limitations on them, and more importantly, it'll tell you really it's to prevent immediate collapse of a dwelling on somebody without them knowing about it.
Yeah, I get that. And actually, if you read into the fine print, though, there's no guarantee of the safety of that building or the disrepair that it's in. At the end of the day, it's a summation based on observation from standing from the street. But again, so you have big city dynamics being imposed into more of a rural community. I just think it's important because some of us that live out in the rural area, we're a little bit more independent, And I don't know how everyone, at least it's just important to be aware
Yeah,
that we're adopting kind of the big city mentality and applying it into more of a rural community.
Well, I will tell you, I don't think that there's going to be large-scale arrests made of individuals who go into their homes, even if there's a red tag on it. I mean, let's be candid. That's
Sure.
There are bigger issues to happen. This really, again, I like to focus more on those that have the green tags on them will know, okay, this has been inspected and at least they didn't see anything wrong with it. It's not a guarantee, but at least it means, okay, well, that house is okay to go into. That one's okay to have, to go in and for habitation. And with the yellow tag, you can go in and at least get stuff out knowing it's not imminently going to fall on top of you. And I know, again, there are no guarantees, but that's really what it's more about. It isn't going to be a scenario where you're going to have wide-scale people being arrested for merely walking into a red-tagged home. You know, if someone does that, I think they do that at their own peril.
Sure. I'm just a big privacy, personal rights guy, and so when I see something that comes across, it just jumps out at me, and I think it's important to point it out.
Yep.
Yeah.
With that being said, would you like to motion to move the item?
So with that being said, yeah, I'll make a motion that we adopt the safety assessment placard ordinance.
I second.
Motion approved. Call the roll, please.
Thank you. Motion passes with 7 yeses.
All right. Move on to regular business. Item number 7, resolution relating to the continuation of status quo benefits for police lieutenants and battalion chiefs when changing bargaining units. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll take this one. So the back in 2017, a couple of job classifications, the police lieutenants and the battalion chiefs for Oroville Fire, broke out and formed their own independent bargaining unit. At that time, the intent was for that bargaining unit to bargain and meet and confer and establish their own memorandum of understanding. That never happened, but during that time, the benefits that they had previously in the OMA bargaining unit continued on until they reached a new agreement, which never happened. So this is an item to have a resolution to provide clarity to CalPERS that the benefits that they had continued on during that period, and then they did in fact not create a new MOU was not agreed upon. So the prior benefits carried on. I'm happy to answer any questions though. It's cleanup from a few years back.
Any questions from council? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
Motion to approve it. Call the roll, please. All right.
Motion passes with 7 yeses.
Thank you all. Item number 8, the licensing agreement to join the Butte Regional Interoperative Communication System. Is that Bill? Okay, Bill.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. What this is the second or the third and the fourth component of a transfer of our infrastructure for our radios for our police department to a county-wide infrastructure. What this is we are joining the total operational area of Butte County. We will no longer have our 5 voter receiver sites that we have in the city. We will not be responsible for maintaining and keeping those in order. Every probably 5 to 7 years, the council buys all new equipment for that, and it runs you approximately $1 to $1.5 million every 5 to 7 years. So, and it's only limited and good for the greater Oroville area. Once you get out of that, our radios are pretty much not operational. With joining this new countywide system, the BRIC system, which stands for the Butte Regional Interoperable Communication System, our radios will now work everywhere in Butte County, no matter where we're at, and even outside of Butte County. It makes us more interoperable with the county. You've already invested about $550,000 in radio change out in vehicles and handhelds, portables, things like that. This is the last component. What we're doing is just asking to enter into the agreement with Butte County. If the council authorizes that, we'll be signing that and switching that over. We will maintain our radio infrastructure that we have in the city, but we will not be repairing it any longer. As it fails, we will take it out of service. We will keep 2 locations open and operable. One will be of course, the big tower on the levee. The other one is out toward the Palermo area. That we will keep both of those open and operable. We'll be using those as for lack of a better term, a back channel. That would just be over the air. We won't be using data lines or anything like that with those any longer. So the initial cost of this for the first 5 years, or the first year for the switchover is going to be approximately, I'm sorry, I have to switch through my paperwork here, $92,226. That's the initial switchover and buy-in and pays for your first year of service. After that, there'll be an annual subscription fee, which it's actually a monthly licensing fee is what they call it. It's based on the number of radios you have. And for the first 2 years, we're locked in at a price on that of $44,000. That's to pay for the maintenance and the upkeep and our share of the infrastructure. We'll also have a seat on the board with this interoperable thing so that someone from the police department will be representing our interests there with the sheriff's department and the other members that are using this system. So with that, I'd just like to get your approval for the mayor to sign that agreement and authorize us to move our equipment over there.
Councilman Johnstone has a question.
Can you remind me again, you said every 5 years our cost for what we're currently paying to upgrade?
It's usually every 5 to 7 years. What happens is we end up with electronic equipment in there. It's like, I'm going to date myself. It's like a VCR. I mean, and what happens is after a certain number of years, the technology becomes antiquated and no longer supported by Motorola. And so like what we're doing right now is we're actually buying data cards that go into our voter receivers off of eBay. I mean, and they're coming from other voter receivers that have been taken out of service somewhere. So about every 5 to 7 years, the technology reaches its life end and we have to replace it.
And that was what, I'm sorry.
And that runs anywhere, it depends on if we do all the voter sites or what we do, it anywhere from $1 million to $1.5 million.
Okay. And with the 92,000 first year participation and the annual fee of roughly 45,000, we're looking at almost a little over 300,000.
That will pay for our first year is 92, then our second 2 years are going to be 88. So for the first 3 years, it'll run you about $170,000.
And over 5 years.
Again, and then if we take it out 2 more years, it'll be another 80,000. So it'd be 200 and what would that be? 250,000.
Okay, so it's roughly a quarter of the cost that we're paying
Right.
every 5 years.
And the cost that we're paying will be for the upgrades and the maintenance and the things like that. So as the software and the electronics wear out, they will upgrade those. We'll still have the responsibility for the radios in our cars and our portables and things like that. If there's a big shift in technology where everything changes, we're going to have to shift with that.
But currently, it looks like it's a great cost saver.
Yes, it's a great cost saver. It also gives you much better coverage.
And this is, you'll have coverage over Butte County and
further out,
Further
depending
out.
on what the capabilities of the system are. Right now, you could go up to Concal, and our radios will work up there just like they do down here, whereas now, if we get out by the Butte College turnoff, you're lucky if you have radio service.
Okay, and you will have the capabilities of working with Butte County Sheriff's Department, those kinds of things as well?
Yeah. Oh, yes, absolutely. We'll still be able to communicate with them, and actually we'll be able to communicate with the Highway Patrol now because we're high band, low band, and there's many different things and technologies that the radios have now, so we'll be actually better able to communicate with more agencies.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Goodson.
Yes. Good evening, Bill.
Good
I
evening.
was just curious, it mentions that there's, once the integration, the migration is complete, the city would have a monthly subscriber fee.
Yes, ma'am.
And then, of course, times 12 for the yearly fee. What do you anticipate, how often are devices added, and what would be the cost per unit added to the system, maintenance per year?
If we were to add them individually, the number that we were adding on to there, we would take the, I'm sorry, I don't have that off the top of my head. Right now, I think it's about $1,100 per unit per year. So if the more we add, it'd be about $1,100 roughly per unit. I can get that information precisely back to you. I just don't remember off the
No,
top of my head.
you just gave me a ballpark, which is fine, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions from council? I'll make a quick comment too, and with the police department going with this countywide thing, I've asked the city administrator to develop a radio plan for our remaining public works and fire frequencies that we still have in place, and then someone to also be in charge of it. So that'll be coming forward just as a radio plan for the rest of the city, because there are other frequencies and other things that we have that we maintain that are within the city. So that'll look forward to that.
And that'll be a great, purpose for the, it's, instead of just scrapping it, I mean, give it a reason and a purpose and get all the life out of it that we can, so it's a great idea.
Exactly. Okay,
Well,
entertain a motion.
I recommend signing a licensing agreement to join the Butte Regional Interoperational Communication System for Public Safety.
A second.
And motion seconded, call the roll, please.
Motion passes with 7 yeses.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council.
Thank you all. Thank you, sir. Number 9, Table Mountain Golf Club Incorporated request for improvements.
This item is a request by the Table Mountain Golf Club, Inc., the company that, or the nonprofit, the company that manages and operates the golf course here in Oroville. And they're asking to be able to put in bocce ball courts. These would be on the southeast lawn, just next to the clubhouse. They want to put in 2 bocce ball courts. They're going to add concrete around them for accessibility. And they would also like to upgrade the bathrooms, remodel really the bathrooms out that are on the golf course. So they haven't been remodeled in quite some time. They just need a refreshing up of flooring and fixtures and that kind of thing. The agreement does require that if they are to do such upgrades, that they would ask for council's approval, and so that's what they are requesting this evening.
Thank you. Any questions from council?
Where's Ruth? Hi, Ruth.
Ruth.
What pocket of money would that be coming out of? Nothing? It's theirs. Okay, they're not asking for any monetary assistance? Is anyone?
On that some sort of assistance possibly for some of the components of the project, but.
We do have 3 speakers that I know of for this item, and I believe that they'd like to follow up on that request.
That's correct.
Go ahead.
Before we begin with the in-person speakers, I'd just like to note that we did receive 1 e-comment on this item from Beth Bellow. Those have been printed and provided on your dais for you. And then in regards to the individuals who are here to speak in person, we'll begin with Jerome Johnson and follow that with Janice White.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah. Oh, Vice Mayor Smith has a question. Come on up, Jerome.
Thank you. Jerome Johnson, Board of Directors, Table Mountain Golf. Yes.
Yeah.
I just take a minute, just want to make some comment real quick. I know when we had the airport in Amarillo, Aviation, I believe, had that facility, and there was some ad hoc accoutrements added to the FBO that were, in this retired general contractor's opinion, though not an engineer, I would say were highly problematic. Those posts still actually may be out there. And that actually annoys me a little bit personally because they're just a safety issue. So I seen the drawing, the bocce ball.
Yeah, it's right next to the southeast corner of the clubhouse.
Given the history of where we have tenants making improvements, which may be a beautiful piece and you guys may do an amazing job, but I think now having a better understanding, being here for a few years now, of the past and moving forward, I think it would be very important that we have staff, we have planning, building, review those plans, ensuring, if there's an affirmative on this project, that it's done in a quality manner and per code, because I've just observed personally that has not always been the case. And no besmirchment on you guys might be amazing, but I think it's important that staff, and now that we are staffed, because that was one of the comments that was made, that things kind of slipped by because we were understaffed, we just weren't able to monitor everything. That is now not the case. So it's just super important, I think, for public safety, quality of structure. When I went out to the airport and I saw that hillbilly structure, it was an embarrassment and it was dangerous. So that just being said, I want to make sure the staff is
They have expressed that
reviewing
they
that.
understand that permits need to be pulled, and they will be pulling permits.
Super.
We anticipate what you're saying.
Yeah.
And your hillbilly structure, I think, is going down because I'm providing those people with dumpsters to put their stuff into. So it's on the way down.
And what it was, just so everyone understands, it was a shade structure. And they took like planters and took 4x4 posts and put them in planters and took little metal L brackets. And so, it's very windy out at the airport. And they had this big sail out there. And it was just, again, I'm not an engineer, but I'm looking at that thinking, man, if that was at my house, yeah, it's a hazard. And it was out there it was the last time I looked, it was still out there. The shade structure was gone, but the 4x4 posts were still there.
But this was at the airport, it's not on the
Yeah, I
golf
know,
course.
but it's in the same general jurisdiction,
Apples and
and I'm drilling down on this because it's just so important. It's just important because I brought this up
Yeah.
from my position in the back room and it not get addressed. And so I just want to really emphasize, I'm watching, and I want to make sure that, and I love it. I mean, anything we can provide, tourism, providing quality of life and making Oroville a fun and safe place to be, I'm all for it. But I just want to put just a real emphasis on this moment.
Okay.
So, yeah, okay, I'm
We
done.
anticipate that, so.
Go ahead, Jerome. You got your time. Got your 3 minutes.
Oh, yeah. Well said. We anticipate what you're saying. We've got people that are, let's say, bocce ball enthusiasts who are also contractors. So they're pretty much on top of this. My job is just to present what we'd like to do with your permission, and then we'll move into the architectural end of it.
Yeah.
Do you want to wait on the bathrooms, or shall I talk about that?
Yeah.
I'd say talk about that.
bathrooms-
No, go right ahead. It's all part of the same project, yeah.
Our bathrooms aren't good.
Right.
Okay, they have not been improved in decades. Leaky roofs.
Literally.
Broken windows. Door handles, hinges, paint. They need help. So, but first of all, we need your consent, and then we'll move into the monetary end of it.
Right.
I-
Go ahead, you have a question?
No, I was
All
going
right.
to make a motion.
Well, there was 2 other
Cut through the
speakers.
chase.
Did the other 2 speakers want to speak?
I'm not sure. I
Yeah.
think,
Yes.
Yeah, I assume they're here to speak in support.
I think that maybe
Yeah.
on the bocce ball side,
Yeah,
which I think is,
sure.
Whatever
Thank you,
you want.
Jerome.
So up next, we would have Janice White, followed by Ron Whaler.
Okay,
Thank you.
Janice? Yeah, in the right direction,
We got you.
but we don't want to limit your time to speak, so welcome to the podium.
Name's Janice White. I've lived here this month, be 59 years. I'm here in favor of the 2 bocce ball courts. And I'm sorry for not addressing to everyone.
Oh, you're fine.
I've never done this before.
You're doing well.
The agenda was on today, the courts about the courts on today's agenda. I've been a player for about 7 years, and I love the sport. It appears at the facility at Table Mountain Golf Course, it's a win-win situation. It's income, it draws people from out of the area, which I was going to speak about. And I'm here to promote the sport as well as expose bocce ball to the community on a wider scale. Bocce ranks, actually, I looked it up the other day, it ranks 3rd in the most popular sports, which is pickleball, bocce, and cornhole are the 3 big things in the country. And the restaurant being a facility for everyone, the restaurant and the bar, it's a win-win.
Sure.
And I know a lot of bocce players that actually I've played with before that live in the Biggs and Gridley area that would or in support of it. I have secured 60 signatures that I had given to the golf course back in July when they had a meeting, and I wanted to leave the 60 names of people that are in favor
Thank you.
of this project. And it would certainly be very much used.
All right. You hand that to the clerk and be happy. We'll get copies of it.
Sorry, I was so slimy.
No, you did well. You did well. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Up next, we have Ron Whaler.
I'm Ron Whaler.
Welcome.
I've been playing bocce ball too. We've been playing in different facilities around, a couple of them. They're only open a couple of days a week. They open in the evenings at them couple of days. It'd really be nice to have a court that we could play on anytime we wanted. I love golf too. The restaurant is there. We have tournaments. It's a win-win situation for the restaurant and the golf course. Because I'm pretty sure lots of the golfers are going to play this once they start. Because I thought it was the stupidest looking playing game I ever seen when I first seen it. Well, it's a lot of fun to do now. It's almost up there with golf. So we'd really like to see a court that we could play on anytime we wanted to. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
That's all I have for
That's all the
submitted.
speakers? Any
Correct.
councilman comments, or do I hear a motion?
I'll be the 61st signature there, and I, if I can do it in Hills, and I approve the request to remodel the 2 bathrooms and build the 2 courts as well.
I'm going to second that, but I just wanted to say that the golf course, you guys have maintained the facility wonderfully, and the restaurant, and I think that to build an additional, accoutrement, and it does service aviators that come in and fly in, from around the area, and so the more amenities that we can offer, I'm all for that. My comments are really more directed at our staff than really your project, so I just hope you understood that.
Councilman Weber on the question?
Yeah, I was actually going to vote no on this, but through the testimony of the people that came up and talked, I'm going to vote yes now. Okay? But I'm going to, but I'm going to tell you that when it's all built, you should come back and challenge all of us to a game of bocce.
There you go.
I want you to know, I played on a bocce league for a while.
Is
so
that
I'm
right?
down.
Okay.
You got a mean
All right.
bocce game, huh? So, yeah. So anyway, you convinced me. All right.
Right. So,
So is that an amendment to the motion?
Oh yeah.
so do I have a second on the motion?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Councilman Riggs has got a second, so call the roll, please.
Motion passes with 7 yeses.
And thanks to the Tidmont Club for taking good care of the golf course. We appreciate that. Yes. All right, item number 10, Historic Preservation Award, Oroville Historic Advisory Commission. Wes, do you have that?
Mr. Mayor, Council, this item will be presented on staff's behalf by Planning Commissioner Natalie Sheard, who's the person who introduced this item to the Planning Commission.
Okay.
Thank you. This Historic Preservation Award that you have before you today is a result of discussion at the Historic Advisory Committee on how can we best encourage rehabilitation and reuse of our precious historic structures. We are in a fight to keep them preserved and relevant today, which is a tough calling to do. And most importantly, we want to keep the incredible stories of the people who built them alive as well. The heart of this award is to honor the best in historic preservation and reuse of Oroville's unique buildings and sites. We want to do this in order to encourage more of the same. Our historic buildings and sites tell the unique story of the founders of Oroville, the history of their successes, and more importantly, their failures and their struggles and the risks that they all took as they served on multiple civic committees in city government, in the county, and for the state. It's a very inspiring story to keep alive. Our founders gave hours of their time to carve out and improve this city, just as you are all doing today. This award gives us the opportunity to honor the residents of the past and the residents today who are working hard to preserve and improve this historic gold rush town. The best way to keep history alive and meaningful is through active reuse of our historic buildings. We've got to get people in the buildings. This is the heart of what we want to encourage. A historic home that is lived in and cared for helps a neighborhood. It gives all the residents the ability to look at all the unique architectural features that are not being used anymore. And it keeps the story of the people who built the home alive. Whereas a vacant, abandoned building tears down the neighborhood and puts us all at risk. Thriving, independent businesses bring vitality to all of our historic structures and have a powerful impact on keeping our history alive. We all might not take the time to go to our museums maybe more than once a year, but we will visit our favorite coffee shop or our favorite bar and restaurant and enjoy a historic structure. In our committee, we looked at how other jurisdictions have honored their historic restoration and rehabilitation in different cities around the country. And there's everything from coffee table books to magazines to periodicals. Some cities do tree plantings in your front yard. Some cities take care of your parkway strip, help your gutter, and improve the sidewalk. But the most powerful that they all do, I think, is just the simple plaque. A plaque from the city that recognizes the value of the restoration and the continuing preservation of the structure and its impact on the success of the city. That's our vision, and we worked hard to keep it simple. We wanted to keep the onus of responsibility on the Historic Advisory Committee, as that is one of our duties, specifically our duty to promote and conduct educational and interpretational programs on historic properties. So this helps us to do that. We're only mandated to choose one with this proposal, but we're not limited to one. And you have a timeline there, and we're proposing to take nominations, and our goal is to be able to present this at the State of the City, if you approve it. And we also want to have an event at the site to honor the history of the site and the people who have restored it. And we want the award to be given by the City Council. There will also be newspaper articles, of course, social media posts. And one thing that I didn't see on here, but I remember talking to Dawn and Daniel about, is a page on the website where we could keep record of, probably I think we should do all the awards that we've given, but just a history of all of them as we start adding it so people have a place to go and just see what we have in this town. And I would also like to add, if I'm allowed to make any changes, I think it would be obvious, but I think we should exclude any members of the Historic Advisory Committee from receiving the award, unless that is naturally already done. That's my little synopsis. If you have any questions or comments, I'm happy to answer them.
Very good. Any questions, council?
I have, so the award is only for the properties that are in the DHO?
No.
Okay, because there's parts in here that,
Well, that, you're looking at our duties. The Historic Advisory Committee duties do specifically say only the downtown, but we instantly wanted this to be for all of Oroville.
okay, so is there, and I thought I saw that some other place and I was trying to review it, because certainly I think, I mean, conceivably you could run out of awards, hopefully not. But if
Well,
it was
one a
just,
year, we have a
right,
while.
if it was relegated just to the downtown only, because all of Oroville, and there's various
Absolutely.
structures all over our city
Yep.
that are of historic nature.
Absolutely.
And we'd certainly want to see everyone get in on the action
Yep.
or have the opportunity.
That's
so.
the absolute purpose.
Okay, perfect,
Yep.
perfect, thank you.
Councilman Weber?
Yeah, thank you. Under duties of commission, can you
Yeah.
define to me what to recommend specific guidelines would be?
Oh, well, I'm not saying that we've done all these duties. These are the duties we should be
Well,
doing.
what's the vision?
Okay, well, no, I didn't write these. This is in our code. So this is what exists now. Now, the Historic Advisory Committee used to be separate from the Planning Commission. And they did recommend historically, Wes knows about that, historically accurate and appropriate rehabilitation on structures in the downtown historic district. So there is quite a catalog of that. have copies of it, like what signage would look right, what awnings wouldn't look right with a particular historic building, you know, there's all sorts of those codes in the historic district overlay.
Well, I'm specifically interested in, because it says right here, it says Historic Preservation Award Program of the Oroville Historic Advisory Commission. Then it says duties of commission below it,
This is a copy exactly from the municipal code.
okay?
This
So-
is we need to fulfill these duties on the planning commission, and so this award is our effort to do that.
But I'm just concerned with that language being involved with this award, because it's in the top of the header, it says Historic Preservation Award Program, right, title of the header, and then it goes on to list the duties.
But it's listing the code.
Councilman Weber, the duties of the commission, the text of the code starts at number 1. The top is not part of the actual code. Our apologies
Perhaps maybe
for
I'm
any
missing something
confusion
here,
there.
but if it's an award, why do we have specific guidelines involved in this particular text that's gonna go into, like that part I'm missing here?
Yeah, this page 128 is for information, to educate the council and the public on the duties of the Historic Advisory Commission, which are intended now to include this award. You asked about the item number 2, to recommend guidelines for designation of landmarks and landmark areas. Is that your question?
Okay, it says, under duties of commission, this award is intended to advance the mission and duties of the commission, to wit, A, duties of the commission, okay?
Okay,
And then it lists
sorry.
what the duties of the commission. So this is directly tying to the award, right?
It's saying that it's helping us to fulfill our duties, I think is the goal.
Yeah, the actual text of the code, my apologies, start in item A there.
To honor, down here.
Yeah.
2A.
I think that language needs to be removed from this. I don't think that's relevant to an award.
To honor outstanding.
So you would like to remove item 1 in its entirety from this text or the staff report? or
Yes. I don't think there should be that much sweeping power for a award, preservation award program to be able to have guidelines involved in it.
Doing that? I don't.
No, because the award's listed below. This was more our justification to tell you why we felt it was appropriate for us to do. That these are the duties listed that exist that we want to do on the planning commission, that we're supposed to be doing.
Well, you understand my confusion, because didn't you just hear what I just read? Right? This award is intended to advance the mission and duties of the commission, boop, 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 okay, and then, but, so it looks like it's tied together. That's the way I'm reading it.
It doesn't have to be tied together, but we would like to
Exactly,
do
that's
it.
why we just removed the language, that way we could, that way, so here's my concern. I'm with Vice Mayor Smith on privacy, overreach. Too much overreach is not good. I don't think that we need to have like sweeping overreach in terms of what we can tell people what they can or can't do.
Okay.
I don't think that's in here at all.
We'll take number 1 off and not propose that be included in the request for approval.
And we're talking about on page 128 of the, not the agenda, but the actual page number.
The explanation.
Yeah, the explanations, okay. Just for clarification. Okay, does that work? Any other questions?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of us.
Councilman Briggs, sorry. Or Smith, you
Yeah,
already
I'm up.
Oh, you're up, okay.
So just a matter of housekeeping, Wes, because it took me a moment to understand that our Historical Advisory Commission was under the Planning Department.
Yeah, we're the
Because that's
same.
not public,
De facto.
easily digestible information through the city's website and to connect the dots. So it took me, I'm pretty good at navigating, and it took me a little while to kind of figure that all out. Who's on first? You know, that kind of thing. So I think it would be important, especially now that we're elevating this to more of a public specter, if you will, that it's important that, you know, folks are, oh, this is a part of the planning, this is a subcommittee essentially of the planning commission.
It says the Planning Commission is the de facto Historic Advisory Committee. So Carl Durling, our chair, it's the same. He calls them both to order. They used to be separate, and then it was joined together.
Right, I was trying to understand that structure.
Right.
And I had trouble understanding it, because it's not clear. So we need to just get
Okay.
that
We'll-
clarified.
we'll clarify that.
Yeah, perfect. That's all I'm asking.
Councilman Riggs.
Turn
Councilmember.
your microphone on.
Thank you. Two things. One, I thank you guys for your hard work on this issue and working to acknowledge the amazing structures and historic assets that we have in our community. I know that the work itself is difficult, and then also to go above and beyond to want to honor and recognize that is, I just really appreciate that. I then to go back a little bit, I think that it's important to note that the resolution doesn't indicate the duties of the commission. The resolution itself simply talks about the award. It's only the supporting document that discusses the overall duties of the commission. So the resolution approving this award does not reference it, simply the supporting documents. That's all. Thank you.
Councilman Thompson.
Thank you. I as well think it's a great idea to incentivize and encourage people to revitalize our beautiful, whether it's downtown or where else in Oroville. And I'm glad that this is not a move towards micromanaging what somebody can and can do on their historic homes.
Absolutely.
It's just to incentivize and reward those who do, revitalize a beautiful downtown. So it's a great idea, and absolutely support it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Very nice. Vice Mayor Smith again.
How old does your house have to be historic? What's
We
the
don't have an
criteria?
age in there. You just have to hit a few of the guidelines.
Yeah,
So it's
just to give
pretty
me a
open.
ballpark,
You
sorry.
don't even have to have a house. It can be just
Structure.
a site.
A site, what would be?
There's no, we didn't put an age.
Okay, I
It
just-
but it has to, you can read, well, if you approve it, I have a brochure, but I think it's also in there. You can read the qualifications, and you just have to hit a couple of them. It's to be the best management practices and the best and highest use, and a way to honor our history and keep it alive.
Okay,
Okay.
great, thanks.
Any other questions? Again, you've all been saying it very well. We appreciate all your work and hard efforts on this. This is a good thing to be done. I'd entertain a motion to pass.
Move to pass the resolution.
And there's been motion and second to adopt resolution 9196. Call the roll, please.
Motion passes with 7 yeses.
Thank you all.
All right, great.
All right, brochures are ready. That's cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My house was built in '39, that's why I wanted to know.
Oh, yeah, you can be nominated.
Not until I'm off council, probably.
All right. Number 11 now, agenda item is the Oroville Convention Center operations discussion. Patrick, you have that?
I do, thank
All
you.
right.
This item is brought to talk about the convention center and the YMCA's participation in operation, the agreement with the convention center. And the YMCA has been operating in a deficit in Oroville for decades, and before they even took over the YMCA. And it's not a reflection of Oroville itself. It's a reflection of rural communities. So I think it was Sean or Stephanie can help me with this, but maybe 20 years ago, the Greater Sacramento YMCA organization started subsidizing the YMCA that's up here. So they've been doing this for years now, and it's gotten to a point where they're not able to do this so easily anymore. Having them there provides a benefit for the community because we have someone there that's managing the facility, that's occupying the facility, which helps to keep people out of the facility. And they do provide some maintenance that's, in the facility there. What they are, they've given us some sort of proposals that they can do moving forward. And one is that they can continue operating at the facility with subsidy from the city. They will continue now operating there for a few months, but that we would still need to provide them some subsidies, and that they will need to reduce the services they're providing. And I think what they're planning on doing is to seniors only, and not during the week. So one of the options that they have is that one. The other one is that they could move their operations over to one of their other buildings that are on Oak and Robinson, and one of those buildings has a pool. The pool needs to be resurfaced, so there would be some subsidies needed from the city to resurface the pool, and then to operate that through 3 months of the year, summertime season, and also with the subsidy. So what we are looking at tonight is to get direction from council to see how we might move forward with the YMCA and the convention center and their operations in the convention center, or up the street on Oak and Robinson.
And if I can add in here, this with regards to some of the subsidies, they give you some numbers. To continue operations there would be to occupy the facility with no rent, which again, they're managing the facility now, they rent it out. And as Pat said, there's a benefit to having someone occupy that facility, so no rent. So there'd be no revenue coming in for rent. There would be a subsidy that would pay for utilities, which for electricity, gas, it's somewhere in the neighborhood. I think it would go down, obviously, if they're not there as much, but somewhere in the neighborhood, historically, it's been about $40,000 to $50,000 a year for utilities, and insurance is about $30,000 a year. So just to give you some ballpark there, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of $70,000 to $80,000 in expenses, plus there would be no rental revenue coming in. As was anticipated, I think when this agreement was reached a few years back, the idea was to try it out and hopefully be successful in being self-sustainable and provide the great programs that they provide and have the revenue come in to offset their expenses. But unfortunately, it just hasn't penciled out as I think everybody had hoped it had.
I should add also that part of the reason that they're running a deficit is that they do substantial subsidies for people that are low-income families. So they're I think that they had said it was something like 60% of all the people that use the facility are subsidized. Some in whole, some in part, but they're so that is a benefit that they provide, and there is a cost to that benefit. So.
All right. Any council have any questions of staff before we move on to the speakers? No? Oh, I'm sorry. Councilman Thompson.
Do we want to do public first, or?
Whatever your pleasure is. I just want to give you an opportunity
Thank
to
you.
ask staff. You want to do public or ready?
Mine's mostly just comments, but
Okay.
you're shaking, Weber is shaking his head yes, like we should go first.
Chrissy has just one technical.
Okay. Right ahead.
Thank you. My question was, you mentioned the cost of insurance and utilities, and you'll have to forgive me, I don't know the cost of rent off the top of my head.
So we have not been charging, there has not been a rental
Okay.
agreement reached, so
Was there a sunset clause in place of there would be this charge at some point?
There would be, after about a year, there were some negotiations that didn't take place. So anyways, there has been no rent revenue coming in, but there could be potentially, obviously, if someone is occupying the facility and having programs and there was sufficient revenue coming in, I think the idea was if there was enough revenue that offset their expenses, that there would be some rental income coming in.
Thank you for that background.
You bet.
And thank you for the privilege to ask that question.
Mr. Mayor, I'm not next.
All right, Councilman Johnstone is up.
Thank you. So I'm not sure who to address this question to, but we're being asked to provide subsidies of between $75,000 and $80,000 annually from the general fund. If that were the case, would that strictly be for the seniors? Because they're proposing the subsidies, or to move.
It's about $90,000 a year just for the utilities and the insurance. So it's, well, I guess about $75,000 a year for utilities and insurance. But they are up, I mean, last year their deficit was 190,000. So what they need to do is scale it back to about, yeah, they're proposing to do seniors only. So and I think that perhaps maybe Sharna or Stephanie should come up and sort of fill in some of these blanks.
But yes, to answer
So
your question, it would be,
So with us
those
subsidizing,
subsidies,
it
it
would
would
be
still be-
strictly to serve seniors only.
correct.
I think that they are still penciling some things out too, if I
Got a comment.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay,
Mayor,
just a
council
second,
members.
she's got a quick question.
Yeah, I think just for historical reminder to the council, so some months back, we had to deal with a CDBG grant. And if you remember, there was 3 nonprofits, the YMCA, of course, Catalyst, and Axiom. And so we had to make the tough decision because we could only fund one. And so that went to Catalyst for all the reasons that were expressed in that meeting. And so that really, it further put the YMCA in a very difficult, up-and-coming fiscal issue. You still have some money on the table that will fund you through April of next year. You still have about $108,000 left on the table currently to help fund through our CDBG grant, but that will be exhausted post-April of this coming year. So I think that's important. But I think just again for historical recall and all that, where things are at. And then, of course, Sacramento has been supplementing their program as well. And so I think again, it comes back to that housekeeping, fiscal responsibility, and really understanding, the benefit our community is receiving, as opposed to the overall cost of that. And then can that be better done in a smaller facility? And I think you're going to help us with that, I think, with some answers. But I just wanted to give some historical context from the council standpoint.
I was not finished. So.
Okay, yeah, okay,
Thank
go
you.
ahead, Councilman Johnston.
Thank you for that, Eric. So my question is, have you reached out and sought out any other funding opportunities and are just not being successful with that?
Yes, again, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
Thank you, council members, for having this discussion tonight. Certainly, I want to start by thanking the city for their support of the YMCA for many years. And certainly, we have been enjoying the opportunity to offer programs through the convention center. So thank you for that. To answer your question about the senior piece, Councilmember Smith did a very nice job of explaining we do still have funds to service youth that we plan to do through April. But after that time, we're unsure that we'd be able to continue specific youth programs because we're not sure that they would cover their own cost. We can certainly try, but we won't be able to run it if we don't get enough kids signed up to run the program. So I just want to be clear on that we're fairly certain that continuing with senior fitness classes, we'll be able to maintain and cover our cost in that.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Thompson, do you have a question of her?
Mine are just comments. I know we have some public comments on this, but I'll go ahead and say mine, and then you guys can say. Prior to this being on the agenda, I actually was thinking a lot about our community and access to physical activities for our youth throughout the summer. It is summertime. It gets so stinking hot, and I'm not, to be quite honest, I don't know the actual statistics of the health and obesity of our youth, but just by looking around, it does seem that Oroville could use some improvement in that area. I do think that one of the contributors, being that I'm not local, born and raised Orvillian, in other areas where the climate's a little more temperate, there's a lot more activities of people being outside. It just, when it's 110, 115 degrees, you just want to just hunker down and hide. So having a facility where, whether it be youth I'm specifically aiming at youth, but also your senior community, having something available for people to do, or a place they can go that's safe, that's cool, they can use the bathroom. You know, there is the cost obviously involved with running a facility, but there's also the cost that is involved with teens that get involved with nefarious activities when they're not busy, and the cost of that we see expressed on a scale that we just see the byproducts of that. And so for me, and to be quite honest, I love the YMCA, but I'm not necessarily advocating for you guys right now. I'm advocating for the fact that it's important for the convention center to be open up for our community, and that's important to me, whether it be through the YMCA or another, another entity that wants to come in and say we could do this and whatnot. So, I'm glad that you guys already subsidize for people that are low income. I think that is vital, especially when you're tapping into public funds, that those funds are tied to making things accessible to people who can't otherwise access activities. So I'm glad you guys already have that in there. So with that, whatever it needs to happen, I'm not sure exactly what funding we have available. But I am in favor of negotiations and discussions as to what, as a city council, we can have a public and private partnership to see that this facility that we just upgraded not just be shut down and get dust when we have a serious need in our community for a safe and clean place and cool or warm spot for youth or the elderly to have activities where they can stay healthy and stay out of trouble. So with that said, I don't know the details of what can be done, but as far as discussions go and trying to find something out that works with you guys, or not playing favorites just with the YMCA, if there was another entity that wanted to come and say we can manage it and at a discounted price or whatever, then but whatever it takes, in my opinion, to keep the facility open, not just for the elderly, but for all those who are looking for some kind of a activity. That's my comments.
That's your comment. Councilman Riggs, before we move on.
Thank you. I have two now follow-up questions. The insurance of $30,000, is that general liability insurance for the program or specifically insurance for the building?
It's the building.
Okay.
Yeah, and it seems like a lot, but all the improvements that have been
Yeah.
made on the facility have caused our insurance
So
costs.
that, quite frankly, it seems that if there was an insurance loss, that would be our loss.
Yeah.
Okay, that changes things. My second question is, the deficit of $190,000 a year, was that even with the funding from Community Development Block Grant, or is that projected based on that loss of funding? That's even
That was with the grant.
So then we add in well, I don't recall how much your grant was for.
But the grant covered that specific program. We offered program just for youth during the summer and on school release days. So
Yeah.
we didn't necessarily have to offer that. It wouldn't have been a loss necessarily on top of it.
Okay. All right, thank you.
I think we've ended the council questions. We'd like to have your folks come up, and I guess we also have some other speakers. So
All right,
who's up first?
Up first, we have Barbara Williams, followed by Audrey Holt.
Hi, Honorable Mayor and Vice Mayor and City Council. I have the lucky position to be a fitness instructor for seniors at the Y. And thankfully, we have that great room to do our classes in. If we are made to move to the older location, I will lose participants. It's not a great room for working out in. And I have between 30 and 40 people for my classes, seniors, from the age of 70 to high 80s. So I'm an elderly too. And luckily, I meet these great people who get great benefit from that building. So I hope that you will continue to subsidize the Y at that building. And yes, we've lost money, but who hasn't during COVID? So, and we need to get more signage out there, but we're working on that. And the Y will be 110 years old next year in Oroville. The only business or organization that's older is Tong Fong Lowe's. So,
True, yeah.
yeah.
True.
But we're an integral part of this community, and so I'm just asking that you continue to fund us in our location at the convention center. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have Audrey Holt.
Kind of feel like I'm going at the beginning before everybody else talks, but my main comments were going to be the facility that they are in now is owned by the city, so if we want it open, then if they're not there and we don't have someone else, does the city want to run it? And then if so, it's already going to have the same insurance and electrical bills. So I don't really see that as subsidizing the Y as much as subsidizing the community. That's something that they are investing in the community by running the building for us. So I think that's very positive. So I think we should do whatever to help keep them in there, because I don't think the city wants to run it, and I don't know if we have anybody else who does, but we definitely don't want it to be empty again before they went in there. I think you had to run it through parks, and it didn't get rented very often. It wasn't taken very good care of, so now we have people in there who care about it, who kind of keep the homeless from congregating there. Personally, I have a Y membership, and my kids have done all the plays that they've had and done a lot of the activities they have, and the people are great there. So I would love to see them stay just for the youth and for the seniors in our community. And another thought, it may come up, but about the other facility, if there was ever something the city could do to help either them or somebody else who wanted to take care of the facility on Oak and Robinson, so that way we could have a pool in our downtown, in our core neighborhood for kids. You said it's hot in the summer, that's the best way for kids to cool off. Used to, they had that amenity for the kids at kids camp, and they swam every day, and I'd send my kids down there to go swimming. And so we've lost a pool, pretty much the only pool in our actual town. So I see that as a big loss. So I would not only urge you to keep them at the convention center, but to look into the other building and see if we can actually figure out a way to continue to help them help us. Because I don't see any of that as a loss. I see all of that as an asset that they are willing to run these programs for us. So I think that's it.
Thank you.
Still have a whole minute left.
Yeah. Good job.
Thank you. Up next, we have TJ.
Councilman Johnston, you up?
I do, but I think it can wait.
Okay.
So my question is. Now can you hear me? My question is do we even know what it would cost to renovate the pool? Like, does anybody have any idea at this point?
Yeah, it needs to be
Resurfaced?
surfaced, thank you. And I know it's up to 200 or less, hopefully less than 200,000. So there hasn't been an official quote, but we're hoping less than 200,000.
Thank you.
Next speaker.
Thank you. The next.
Councilman Weber, sorry.
Yeah, I wanted to follow up on that too. Is there any components to the filtration system or anything that needs to be fixed as well?
No, not at this time.
No. Okay.
Follow
So-
up to,
Huh? Can I speak? Or you want to speak? No. So what I would like to kind of piggyback off of Councilmember Johnstone's, because I would like to inquire if we could maybe look into what it would take to get an assessment by a pool specialist, or I don't know, what is it, gunite that needs to be resurfaced on it, resprayed? Yeah, okay. I mean, I think that would be worth us looking into, so.
Councilman Thompson?
how many yards is that pool?
That pool is, 13 yards, which is half of a 25-yard pool. Has been around since I was 5 and has only been surfaced once.
Okay.
without subsidy.
Okay, all right. So, do we need more questions, or do we let the speakers get their done first? Let's finish our speakers. How many do we have, actually?
We have 4 more.
Okay, let's finish our speakers, and then we'll develop the conversation right after that.
All right, up next, we have TJ Jensen, followed by Candace Adams.
Okay.
Thanks for your time, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. My history with the municipal goes back to litigation and turning it back over to you, so I won't go back to my history on that. I'm going to go ahead and read what I prepared because what an opportunity for the discussion to be having today. It's quite a discussion. You can lay out the foundation for the next 100 years for the historical municipal auditorium, the YMCA, and the city of Oroville. You have in front of you spreadsheets, financials, and data showing the red line costs that it takes to provide should be free to provide this. Really bugs me to ask for money. So what it takes to provide recreation to youth, seniors, and all age groups. The data shows that without a shadow of a doubt, we need to find a permanent, I highlight that word, permanent relationship between the city of Oroville and the YMCA. It has to be permanent. It can't continue to not be permanent. It has to be a solution-driven, a partnership, a discussion on programming, that kind of idea going forward. I want to recognize something that's pretty amazing. The YMCA, the Municipal Auditorium, and the City of Oroville have withstood the test of time together, and they will always stand the test of time. The YMCA was started in 1912. The City of Oroville was officially founded in 1906, and the Municipal Auditorium was built in the early 1900s. What longevity these entities have had. Historically, the YMCA is one of the longest running partners in bringing good to Oroville. I firmly believe that watching Oroville grow, that the natural stewardship of the historical municipal auditorium is clearly the YMCA. So many city municipalities have fallen short and have let their local YMCAs close. When the Oroville YMCA was closing in 2007, it was taken under Sacramento YMCA of Superior, California, as Sacramento recognized the positive. I can't even get through it, and it should have been already done. As citizens and stewards of the governing body of Oroville City Council, what an honor it is for you and the YMCA to have the opportunity to concrete the foundation and relationship to the next 100 years. Can I get another minute?
Go ahead.
I won't,
Please,
it'll be
get
done.
Get it done.
Sorry, one second. Could you turn the mic back on? Thanks.
Oh, yeah.
It's still off.
Oh.
Yeah.
They're on, TJ. We're asking for clarification, so you keep going.
This is what we're here for, to ensure future generations receive the best future and also remember our history. I ask this of the city council and city administrators. Let's find a solution. Let's not decide tonight, but design a well-planned, permanent relationship between the YMCA and municipal government of Oroville. I've been around politics and the government of Oroville in the city of Oroville for 44 years. I've actively participated in protecting the Oroville's history, but also promoted growth. I know for sure that if we establish a permanent relationship with the city of Oroville and the YMCA and work together to meet the needs of youth, seniors, and Oroville population, we'll inspire all to a healthy life in spirit, mind, and body. As we shape the future of Oroville and shape the community to protect our history and grow responsibly, I'm excited to see that this council and the YMCA and what you can do to root and concrete a permanent relationship. From our history, I only see that in formulating a permanent municipal relationship between the YMCA and the city of Oroville, but the alternative to not formulate a permanent relationship, a discussion and formulate the ideology and continue going forward, I think unfortunately one of those three entities is going to disappear. So recognizing that permanent, whether it be a small relationship or large, we need to identify the relationship, whatever building we land in. So for the next 100 years, let's make history and make a lot of good memories.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Up next, we have Candace Adams, followed by Sarah Pierce.
Okay.
Go, Candace.
Thank you for allowing, thank you for allowing me to speak, council and everybody. Okay, so as an instructor and employee of the YMCA, I have been with them for about 14 years. I have taught children. I have taught seniors. We need to remember that that's our beginning and that's our end. That's okay. We've had seniors that have lived longer than they might have if they weren't exercising, if they had to stay home after becoming a widow or a widower. I've had seniors. My oldest senior was 96 years old and worked out in our program for up to the day, basically until they passed away. We have a good program. I have children that have been in our pools, they've been in our camps, they've done theater programs. And you know, it's really nice when I walk down the street and I go into a store and I see this kid that's in college and they're asking for, can you sign a resume or do something for us, because they know us, they know, you know, we do provide something, and to break up that would be horrible. But I think that there's a lot of cities that the YMCA is a part of the city. It's not a separate entity. And for the city to for the city to lose us, I find it to be, in layman's terms, a big mistake. I think we should consider that so many people in this community benefit. And as one of our other speakers said, we represent the lower class, the set income people. We represent them because those are the people that may not find exercise in a commercial facility, or they may not find someone to come in and start a little group of friends, okay? So that's basically what I want to say.
Thank you. Well done.
Thank you. Up next, we have Sarah Pierce, followed by Brian Wong.
Hello, lots of familiar faces. I've been here before. I think what this is coming down to is community. Just give you a little bit of history. When I started the YMCA, it was January of 2020. I came into the YMCA absolutely excited about everything that I'm going to be able to bring to the Oroville community. And then COVID hit and everything stopped. We were able to keep the school-age kids open. All of our classes got canceled. And it was just very depressing. The community was not getting what they needed. Nobody was getting out of their houses. We had our Y360 at that time, but it was fairly new to us and we weren't able to get it out to our members in a way that we should have. And a lot of people suffered during that time because they couldn't get out and exercise. We moved over to the convention center, and I would like to invite every single council member here, if you have not done it, to come here Mondays and Wednesdays between 9 and 11 and come see the 30 to 40 seniors in our list class. They are not just there to exercise. They're there to socialize. They're there to make friends. They're there to get out of their houses. It's more than just exercise at the YMCA. It's community as well. If you don't make that time come down between 3 and 5 o'clock, you'll get run over by 20 basketball players ranging from 13 to 22. And they're having a good time. Same thing. They're not just there for the exercise. They're there to socialize. And guess what those 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18-year-olds are not doing from 3 to 5. They're not downtown. They're not destroying things. They're in a very secure place. They actually pop back and forth from the Axiom. And we have a great conversation with the Axiom and the parents. And it's a wonderful place for the kids to be. Since we've been into the convention center, I have been able to see the YMCA expand how we work with the community. It's not just our programs. It's the rentals. It's the events. It's cornhole. It's the promenaders. You know, this is their home now too. We rent to them during certain seasons. The promenaders are there all the time. This is their home. We're doing the multicultural days with the African American Family Cultural Center. We're doing the One Hope for America. We've got all of the different things and all of the different communities. We work with. Yes, there you go. Operation Live On is coming up too. And those are all things that the YMCA partners with. These are not things that we're making money off of generally. And we're here for the community. The YMCA is huge for the community. As a matter of fact, since I am here, I did cancel ELF rehearsal, but because that gym is, just saying, but I canceled ELF rehearsal to be here, but that gym was not.
Thank you,
The
sir.
YMCA is about community. We made an agreement building busy and keep people coming to downtown. And we did it. Our trunk or treat had 500 people attend, 20 members. And we didn't make a penny off of it. That was something that we did completely for the community, and the 20 people that came out, some of them are just community members that don't get to see trick-or-treaters at their house. And it was a safe place for the kids to come and have that experience. So I want you to think about the fact that, yeah, there's a lot of discussion about money, but I really feel like we also need to look at the effect that this has on the community and what the YMCA has brought to the community by being centrally located at the.
Sarah, I have a question for you. I know that the work is being done to fix the bathrooms finally.
Yes.
I'm going to say that was probably a hindrance in the past, and I know it took us time to get to that point, and hopefully it'll be done soon, but I'm just asking the question, with those bathrooms being done, is that going to help things?
Yes, it's going to.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's going to absolutely help things. A lot of our rentals are having to get porta potties. Nobody wants those porta potties out there. During the trunk or treat, there was another rental. We were basically working with 2 bathrooms for the rental and the trunk or treat. We all worked it out. They got a porta potty and everything seemed to work out. The dressing rooms are going to be awesome. From the theater point of view, it'll be wonderful to not have the kids have to march from upstairs to downstairs, and they can change back there, and it'll be nice and quiet. Not this time, because we're gonna do the play around the construction. One way or another, we're doing this play.
Okay.
But it's gonna be a big benefit. Multiple times when we have big events or the kids or the seniors, there's a line for the bathrooms. And so this is gonna make a big difference.
Appreciate that. Thank you. I was curious about that because it's been a struggle for us to get those done. We had all kinds of delays that it was on our part, and I'm glad to see that it's getting done.
I do have to tell you, there was big celebrating that week when you guys first broke ground. We were so excited.
That's good. Do we have a question?
Mr. Wan, I do, but I think Brian wanted to speak, so.
Oh, yeah, okay, coming up. Thank you.
Stay in order here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is he the last speaker? Yes. Okay. Welcome, Brian.
Hi. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Council. So anyway, tonight we're hearing about a lot of issues involving the convention center and everything that's happening. So if I don't live in Oroville, it sounds like we have a problem. And is the convention center truly a problem? For me, it's actually a huge asset. So then the question that we have to ask when we look at the convention center is, well, how can we really turn it into the asset that it should be? And it is. that we know that is an asset in our heart. So tonight we talked about historic preservation. How do we bring back the historical nature of the convention center, the way it used to look with the beautiful arches? So then it's attractive. How do we today start thinking about the reprogramming of the convention center? So then we have programs that are sustainable for the YMCA. And I know for a fact that there's like about 60 Hmong kids that love to play like volleyball. So that would be a perfect, location for them also. And then for attracting business development, tourism, and everything else that we're going to talk about in the next item. The convention center is the focal point of our city. So when you're standing on Meyer Street or downtown, you naturally gravitate towards that building. So if a business person, a tourist, or anybody that comes to this town, say that you're standing on the corner of Montgomery and Myers right now, and you're looking at the building, what story is it telling you? So I'll be very honest with you tonight. When I look at the building, it looks a little tired. It's had some remodeling done in the past that hasn't done it justice. So then the question tonight is, if we want to turn this into an asset, how do we reimagine it? How do we reprogram all the functions of it? And then outside, even looking at the building, when you look at it, it needs to inspire. So thank you.
Sure. Okay, I think that's the last requested speaker. Vice Mayor Smith, do you have a comment?
Yeah,
Question?
a couple. So for context, how much have we spent so far in the convention center in the last 4 years in the way of revitalization? And what are we projected to spend currently? I know we're putting in 80 restrooms right now, which is a huge upgrade. Does anyone have Amy, maybe?
I don't have the history on all the other, the current improvements that are going on. We have 1.2 million for the interior. We also have an estimate of about the same 1.2 to 1.5 million on the exterior plans that are still being made. But we have done improvements with the flooring, which was over $100,000. We've done heating and air conditioning, which was, I think, 80 or 90,000, and the kitchen remodel. So there's been a lot of money that's gone into that.
Well, you also have the fire restoration.
Yeah, the fire restoration that was in insurance.
Insurance.
It's over 3
Oh,
million.
yeah, the roof.
Yeah, it's
Well
it's 2.5, probably approaching 3 million by the time we get done. So I think
I have 2.3 million,
2.3 at this point. Okay.
once it's done.
Okay. So I guess the point is that I think I'm drawing here is that there's been tremendous commitment by this council and the previous council to continue to love and care for that facility, because it is a community asset that I think that everyone wants to see it go into the future. And so that being said, so there's been commitment, I think, from the dais, from the city council, to ensure that that facility continues to receive what it needs to be viable and productive, and that it's a beautiful facility, it's usable and enjoyed by many. And so with that, I have a question from the folks from Sacramento, from the YMCA Superior, Northern California, I think. So where, because I wasn't completely clear as you were speaking, where your level of commitment is in the ongoing support, because you've obviously been, and if I understood you right, you've been supporting our local YMCA for some time, even maybe and so for some context, because I think it's important. I mean, though I love the Y, and I love what you do, and obviously I work with Sarah, and we do of course the Salmon Festival and Arbor Days, and and just the access to facility and working together. We have an awesome working relationship, and I really appreciate that. But and so there's been I guess when I'm going here, there's been a lot of commitment for sustainability, but I also want to understand from the long-term partnership, from the YMCA, from a bigger picture, where you're at and where you were even pre-COVID with supporting our local chapter.
Thank you.
Microphone.
There you go, it's on.
The YMCA of Superior, California did acquire the Oroville YMCA when the Oroville YMCA could no longer continue to financially sustain itself. And so since then, the YMCA in Sacramento has been subsidizing the operations. And so What we decided to do when we had the city approach us about potentially using the convention center was we kind of said, let's go all in and see if we can really make a go of it. And so we brought in fitness equipment, we pumped up a lot of classes. We really put a lot of effort into making it function as a YMCA in a much larger community would function. That is why we have had the losses the last few years. We've offered membership with hours available where you have to staff those hours, whether people are there or not. We have reduced those over the year. We did have to make the reduction of the pool a year ago because we just could not continue to sustain at the level that was happening. When we started having conversations with the city administrator about the financial stability and our lack of being able to get to a point where we could pay rent or utilities, we tried to put together some different looks. What's the minimum we could do to sustain here and continue to be in the convention center? And that was kind of what we proposed with the senior fitness classes and managing the rentals. That would be the minimum we could do. I would hate to overpromise and underdeliver. We would love to continue to offer some condition or additional programs. As mentioned, could we offer some youth programs? As long as we get enough youth to sign up, then yes, and it will cover its own cost. But how we have been operating the last few years is trying to, especially after COVID, build that back up. So we've been running program, even though we know we haven't had enough registrations, to try and get the popularity out there, let people know that we're here offering these programs and hopefully get more people involved. At this point, we have to stop doing that and say, okay, we know we cannot function if we can't get the enrollment where it needs to be. So I would not want to promise a lot of other programs because it will completely be determined based off of registration for those programs. But I don't think it's something that we would be afraid to offer. I think we want to meet community need. We want to offer these programs. It's just we haven't been able to have the financial support to do so.
So just to kind of follow up with my comments then, trying to get a good picture for everyone to understand here. So beyond the city subsidizing, so to speak, right? So you as well as an organization have been subsidizing, I would imagine, staff hours, employee, costs, and those types of things, and additional things that we're probably not even aware of. I ran a private school of a 20,000 square foot building. I kind of have somewhat of an idea of kind of what it takes. And it takes a lot. It's a lot of commitment and investment and staff and all of those management pieces that go on. So I'm just wanting to understand where your level of commitment is as an organization. So, I mean, and again, I think what I'm looking at too is what the action is from the council. I almost think like what needs to happen here is we need to have a higher level conversation, not necessarily in the public forum, to, have I think a better sense of where you're at. Where we are as a community. Obviously, there's a great deal of support locally because of the tradition and the love of, we're all friends. We all work together here. And, so trying to find a path that, best practices forward, right, that we're fiscally sound, we're being responsible. And it may mean running at some level of a deficit. And is there an appetite in the local community as a whole to be able to underwrite the YMCA as a community? Is that what we want to do? I think it's important for the council to be able to hear from the community and its constituency to absorb that. And so where are we on that? And how much is that going to cost? And what's your level of commitment? And so there's a lot of information here that we're not able to glean and digest in, this type of a format other than we get it. We want to find a path for sustainability for the YMCA. And so there may be some other creative solutions that, we haven't even thought of here tonight, that none of us haven't had the epiphany, the aha, right? But I'm listening and kind of evaluating, I'm catching bits and pieces. I'm thinking there's a lot more to this story than is able to be fully unloaded here tonight that I think requires more input at another level, if you will, so.
And if I could just respond to the, support or subsidy. So basically, when they say that we ran at a loss of $190,000, that's the subsidy that the Greater Association covered for Oroville to remain open. We cover those salaries. We cover those expenses, right? So the loss that we have incurred is just covered by the rest of our organization.
And so, and just for clarity, so at end of April, you have $108,000. But the only way you can get this money is to have kids in your program.
Which we plan to do. We have that program planned through April.
So kids, if you're listening to the
Yes.
meeting, right, you need to sign up, join, get involved with the YMCA so they can build a city and get their money. I mean, that's how this stuff works.
Correct.
Dodgeball. Right now, we're taking sign-ups.
Dodgeball, here you go.
As well as our winter and fall camps.
All right, there you go. So there's a plug for the camps.
Thank
But
you.
I mean, that's the way you get, I mean, bottom line, right? It comes
Absolutely.
down to that. And
But
so, we need Oroville. I mean, obviously there's some folks that are utilizing the services, but we need a higher level of participation. And then there's been competition, right? You have Yaxim, I think was mentioned. The county has a little program on Montgomery, Feather River Parks District. I mean, there's a lot of the Boys and Girls Club. And so a lot of people other organizations are after the pie. So, it's tough. But I think just, again, making it really clear, good clear picture of what we're looking at here moving forward, I think is important.
I would just like to comment on that, if that's okay. The Axiom is not competition.
I was going to say that.
We are partners.
That's partners.
SWAT and
Yeah.
the YMCA are partners. Boys and Girls Club and the YMCA are partners. We are not in competition. We are here, all of us, for the community and the children.
In spirit, you are, but and at the end of the day, at the bottom line, you're going after the CDBG grant, right? There was only so much, you're competing for the dollars, the support, the fiscal support. There is an element of competition. It's just the reality of life, right? But I get it. I mean, we all want to see the same thing.
Thank you,
for our
sir.
kids.
Thank you, sir. Yes, you're dead. Thompson.
Thank you, and I promise to be brief. A couple questions.
Did you turn my mic on?
A question that I have is, having kids in elementary schools, it seems like Oroville students are always traveling to Bangor and for basketball. I'm just quite sure why the schools don't rent them for the basketball opportunity, because I would, that's just a question. It doesn't have to be answered right now, but I'm not quite sure why that's not happening. As a parent, always driving literally for every game out of town for a basketball game, when you want to get more kids signed up, then you get kids in the building and then posters that say sign up for the Y. They're like, oh, cool, I can play basketball here. So I'm not sure why that's not happening. I think that Mr. Smith, Councilman Smith, made a good point when he said there's a lot more discussion that needs to happen. So at the end of this, my recommendation would be for there to be formed an ad hoc committee to work together with staff to bring back to council with questions, answers, solutions, to have that all through the weeds and discuss different options. As well, just the last point is, I'm not sure if there's made available volunteer opportunities for people, so that helps decrease some of the cost. I know that we have, I don't want to throw this into the docents, which already need more docents, but volunteer opportunities for people to be there for certain events. I'm not sure if that's a possibility. So these are all questions and comments, but my major recommendation is there be an ad hoc committee to work together with staff and YMCA to go through all these questions in detail to bring back to council a potential solution that would keep this open for not just the elderly, but for our youth.
Councilman Weber, excuse me. I thought I was, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I would like to, point number one, I would like to look into hiring a pool specialist to assess the pool's needs. Two, I have a question for you and for Sarah. Would the Y be, if we figured out a way to fix the pool, would you be able to facilitate running the pool?
Yes, I've
Okay.
turned that budget in to
Okay.
city administrator.
Because I'm very interested in doing that. I'm very interested in, I don't think it's a this or that scenario. I think we could kind of hammer out the details and find a this and that scenario. Would you be willing to talk with, okay, this is, I mean, not trying to put you on the spot, but Feather River Parks and Rec just sold their building down there, and they need a place to do, their activities as well. Would you guys be willing to talk with staff, and try to hammer out some details possibly on a
Always.
partnership?
We're already.
Yep.
Oh,
We have met.
Okay.
Brian at Parks and Rec and to discuss those and are already in negotiation for.
Okay. Because I see that as maybe an easy long-term solution that might be able to, you know, offset everybody's needs. I think there's plenty of space in there that we could all work together. Also, would you guys be willing to work with other like private partners? Say like if there was a dojo, a karate dojo, or MMA or something like that, or even a boxing clinic that somebody wanted to come in, would you be? I mean, would you? If in other words, could we?
We have talked to some of those people already, and trying to work with them to find space. Sometimes the space isn't conducive what they want, but we have been in conversations and will continue. We are always open to partnerships, always. So we
Yeah.
don't turn those conversations down.
In fact, cornhole and promenaders are two private, they are not YMCA organizations that.
Okay, well,
have regular
yeah.
programming at the
So as long as there's a space on the calendar and there's somebody that's willing to do it during that space, then we can kind of work it out. And then, of course, you know, hammering out, you know, very clear and defined parameters of operation and maintenance between all the parties involved. To Brian Wong's point, I want to touch on that, bringing back the arches, eliminate the water feature in the front. You know, because aesthetically, when you come down Meyer Street, you see City of Paris, which are doing a fantastic job on remodeling. And then we have the State Theater, which looks magnificent with this really good marquee. I've seen pictures of the City of Paris building that Brian put on Facebook, and it's going to look fantastic. So you're going to have this magnificent juxtaposed you know, like really cool old buildings. And all the way at the end, we have the municipal auditorium. And I would like to see that water feature removed because I don't think it's period correct, or, you know, it just doesn't complement the building. And those arches that are in those old pictures, really cool. So I don't know how we could do that, but I would love to do that. And then to Councilmember Thompson's point, I would love to see a school partnership. Like maybe we could reach out to the unified school districts, the high school, the elementary districts, and try to form some kind of alliance with them as well to use it for dances and assemblies or whatever. Because the State Theater's used a lot for award ceremonies and whatnot and concerts, but maybe we could kind of, you know, use that. And then that's pretty much all I had. If you guys are willing to talk, maybe we could, I would like to, I don't know necessarily if I'm in favor of approving an ad hoc committee. I think that staff and the Y and Feather River Parks and Rec could get together and probably hammer out some details. And I bet you anything you guys could figure out a really viable solution and get this thing worked out so we can have continued services in our city that the Y so generously provides for our children and our elderly, as we've been told tonight. So
Thank you.
I'm in favor of that. So thank you.
Any other councilman questions? Go ahead. Councilman Riggs.
I just want to, well, for me, my personal thought here is that the insurance should fall to us, and so it would be my preference that we just take that on. And that was side note. And then the main thing that I wanted to share, which I can't believe you haven't, is actually this Friday is the YMCA's benefit event, the Festival of Trees. Yep. Which I know that the council has previously purchased tables for community events such as that, and I would recommend that we do the same for this event.
Thank you.
I've been pretty quiet. Now I get to talk. To me, it's a simple partnership that we have with so many other partnerships in this city. We have a partnership with the golf course. We had a partnership with the State Theater. We have partnerships all over town. And frankly, as a city, I don't want the building back. I mean, just from my perspective and my term with the city, Ms. Holt back there made a good comment. If we got the building back, we'd still be stuck with those expenses, frankly, just to be, and I'm just saying from a practical point of view. So I certainly suggest at this point, and it looks like the consensus of the council, that we direct this back to staff. And I would add, we actually had to agendize this on the upcoming executive committee meeting. So we could put staff to put something together, get it to the exec committee, and the exec committee can bring it forward to full council. I think it'd be the simplest way instead of having an ad hoc committee. That way, we talked about this topic before, might as well just make it right there. And we don't have to set up any new committees or anything. It'd just be an agenda-sized item for the executive committee to make recommendation to full council. So that way,
You agree
Uh,
with me?
Yeah, I think that'll be a good way to get it going. We want to thank everyone that came to talk to us, to tell the story. We need to know that story, and frankly, we don't get it unless you folks come and tell us. We don't want to imagine it, what your knowledge is. So I thank each and every one of you for being here tonight, and Sharna and the Y, certainly appreciate that. We'll get there some way or another. And I think that we've had a good conversation here tonight, and that's what local government's all about. So again, thank each and every one of you here for being here and telling us a story. It falls on us to, complete the story. So thank you all.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Can I get some, just to confirm some clarity on the direction? So the staff will work with the YMCA, and I heard Feather River Rec and Park District, and potentially others, if there are others that are interested in bringing some youth programs to the facility.
Yeah.
Those two are the primary we initially work with. See what we can come up with, bring that to executive committee, then come to council, and then as well as, do we want to get a quote or I'm
Pool
not sure,
quote, yeah, it's a great
assessment
idea.
or
Yeah.
something on the pool?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I would add any other facility needs that we have, we need to see that as a composure, because we don't want to piecemeal this. We want to look at a total package, I think is the best thing. And again, I'm stressing the idea here is partnerships and more, not just a few, but more. So I look forward to
And
that.
just a small add with funding, looking what funding options we have. Just,
Yeah, certainly. Yep. Councilman Goodson?
Sorry.
So we've heard your comments. I wish we had this great of a turnout when the branding issue came up. And I think we all learned from that, and that's why you're here, and we really appreciate that. There's a lot of bucket list wishes in this room, and I could see it. So at the end of the day, when the executive committee, that's us three, when staff comes and we evaluate and process and analyze, and of course, one of the things that you voted us all in was to be fiscally responsible with taxpayer dollars. So we're always going to be mindful about that, but we're also all about community. So bear in mind, at the end of the day, not everyone is going to win, but not everybody's going to lose. But at the end of the day, we're all going to gain something out of this. So thank you so much.
All right.
Together we can.
Yeah.
Yes. We're in it to win it.
Does staff have enough direction for that?
We do.
Okay. Then we will move forward to the next item, and thank you all.
Once we
Yeah.
get,
We're going to take a 5-minute break.
we get.
Something like that. We're gonna move 14 up so we can get out of here.
Where's Fort, okay.
All right, folks, we're going to get back to order. We were on item number 11. We have a number of folks in here for item number 14, so we're going to hear item number 14 next. So item number 14 is a fee waiver request from the Just Send It Cornhole. Who's going to present this topic? I guess
I can do that. So previously, events that had an alcohol component, where they bring their own alcohol, and it's a nonprofit organization, they were charged $30 for the event. When the fees were raised, and I'm sorry, I'm not exactly sure the date, but it was recently, when the fees were raised recently, they were raised for events that have alcohol, where they bring their own alcohol, was raised to $80 an hour with a 3-hour minimum. So the cornhole, Let's Just Send It Cornhole, we're paying $720 previously annually for their tournaments, seasonal tournaments. And now their cost goes up to about $5,700 for that's, and that's if they play the minimum 3 hours of an event. So they have sent us a letter and they've requested that the fees either be waived or reduced back down to the $30 that they had been previously. And that is what is in front of council tonight.
And I'll add this. I think some of the logic behind the fees is to obviously recoup costs that may be incurred when alcohol is involved at a big event where law enforcement may need to be involved or other city staff. And thus far, all feedback that we received is this has been a very collegial group, and there's been no issues to date. So,
Any questions? Oh, Councilman Goodson. Oh, all right.
Previous, thank you.
Any councilman questions? Councilman Thompson.
Yeah, thank you. What was could somebody remind me of the reason for the uptick on the costs?
Hoping that, right, I think we raised fees, it was across the board, right?
I think that was back in March when the fee study was done and it was brought before the council. And ultimately it is, if you have a big event, it's typically there's going to be some sort of city activity. So it's about cost recovery. But in this case, there hasn't been any issues to date that would, I feel comfortable as far as not needing that cost recovery for these types of events.
So your recommendation is to keep it as is?
That would be mine. It seemed that it worked well last year, and obviously if things change in let's say in 6 weeks, something develops and it's no longer, there's issues coming up, then we can certainly revisit at that point in time.
But for clarification, your request is a waiver for this particular group for this fee?
No, to keep
Correct.
Keep it as the
It was a
old
waiver or keep it at the $30 per event, which is what it was last year.
Okay. All right. Are you still up, Thompson?
No, I think I'm good.
All right. Vice Mayor Smith.
Yeah, I just, Nick, for when we rent facilities, just to echo your sentiment, I think part of the motive here was when you rent like the lot home for a wedding, it's a one-time event. Again, there could be potential impacts or call for services, law enforcement. And so it was the fee was set to try to mitigate some of those potential impacts. It wasn't really designed for a group that regularly rents. Like, again, they have a great relationship with the YMCA, and they're paying a rental fee to the YMCA, which they certainly can use. And so with the new fee structure that we've created here, it puts an undue burden on that organization to continue into the future. So the $30 and or a complete waiver was much more, I think, in line with, where we know that we have a relationship. There's not been any calls for service. As I looked into it, it's never been an issue. So this fee structure really wasn't designed for an ongoing, regular occurring event such as the cornhole folks.
That's correct. And the $30 fee is really just to cover the cost of receiving the application, so without the expectation of anything needing to be done later.
Okay. Councilman Thompson?
Yeah, I think it's important to, once you start waiving fees like this, then there's a bunch of Me Too's that come behind it. But in light of the fact that this group has been amicable and without kind of self-policing, the people that are in there and not having issues, I think if that specific part of this continues to remain where we don't have issues up there, I'm fine with the fee remaining the same. In fact, I make a motion that we approve the fee for this group to be at the old price, which is $30.
I'll second.
Okay, been motion and seconded to.
We do have public comment, Mr. Mayor, I apologize.
Maybe
Yes.
they would like to forego them
Yeah.
based on the motion.
Unless you're good. We're good. Okay. We're good.
Thank you.
You guys, read the tea leaves?
You're ahead.
I like your style.
All right, given that we have a motion and a second, and,
I do need to just read into the record that we did receive one additional letter from John Zhang, which is on all of your daises
Right.
in support of this
communication
item.
has been received on
Perfect.
this topic, so we appreciate that. I'll call the roll.
Can I confirm what the motion was, just to confirm?
Yeah, so keep the fee the same.
the fee
Keep
the
it at
same.
30, okay, thank you.
And obviously, if there began issues,
If there's
we'd
issues.
revisit it.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Thank you, gentlemen and
Thank you.
Thanks for allowing us to play sometime.
folks. All right.
Or come to watch us sometime, Friday night, 6:30.
Do you offer handicaps for players that haven't done? I mean,
We have two divisions.
okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Have a good evening.
All right. Getting back to agenda, folks.
Okay.
Next item is number 12. Authorization to issue a request for proposals to strategize and implement a City of Oroville campaign for community development. I believe Mr. Ring has
Yep,
this?
I'll kick
Okay.
this one off. So back on September 5th, I believe, yeah, September 5th, council directed us, and this was back when we were discussing the whole study, or, oh, gosh.
Branding?
The branding / logo, I'll leave it at that. Staff were directed to do a number of things. One is Councilmember Weber was added to the committee, which already included Vice Mayor Smith and Councilmember Riggs, along with staff. So that committee grew by one council member. We were directed to continue to work with the contractor for up to 60 days, continue to seek public input, as well as then come back with an update from that group after or right around 60 days. So again, September 5th, we're here now in November, so this is kind of a 60-day update. The group has been meeting on a regular basis, just about every week. And the recommendation that the group has brought forward is to really bifurcate what this really means. And again, the goal of this whole venture, which started probably over a year ago, was to hopefully change the perception of the city of Oroville and make it a place where people want to come to do tourism, to build, to live, to recreate. And that was the goal. That was many of the goals. So the committee is recommending that, it's a broad topic, and dividing it up into 3 specific areas. One would be community development, which would essentially be, housing and business recruitment would be one component. The next component would focus more on tourism. And the third component would be more about just community pride. And the idea is to put an RFP out there, see if there's any businesses out there that have had success in doing 1, 2, or all 3 of these areas. It could be, it's a great opportunity for, maybe there's a local company that wants to tackle the community pride that has close ties to the city. But ultimately, what we're looking for is let's cast a wide net and see if we can't get an entity to help us in those 3 areas, because frankly, we have a lot of data from the study that was done, but we're not experts in implementing in these three arenas. So the idea would be to put out an RFP and see what kind of information that we get. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Comments?
Comments? This issue, we're just looking at direction, correct?
Correct.
RFP, yeah.
Again, we're not asking for any contracts. We're just to see, as a committee met, I think we really discussed, maybe we can find lightning in the bottle and find a company out there that has really had a tremendous amount of success in one of these three areas that we wish to then enter into an agreement with to help us.
And then those proposals would come back here for.
Correct.
Okay, any questions? I see Vice Mayor Smith up.
Yeah, I'm in digesting this whole conversation in light of some of the controversy over what some would call the logo gate, tongue in cheek. And then just thinking about the presentation that we received from the organization out of Florida, North Star, I believe. And how we got there was, we thought, hey, we need to rebrand the city. So we wrote a RFP, and they were the only company that responded. And so just in kind of digesting and mulling this over the way in my Smith way of, processing stuff, I feel that we need to have a little bit more focused or pointed attack on this, where we're not looking for someone to tell us our story, but that we identify, staff identifies the stories that need to be told. And so, in other words, I think we need to have an RFP that is more directed, because I think we were so ambiguous with the previous attempt. And I think at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. We want to move our community forward, want to put our best foot forward. We want someone to help us with that, because not all of us are experts in, the world of marketing. But I think I think staff can identify whether it's our business park, some of the strong assets and features and things that, as a part of our plan, the plan that we have as a community development plan, growth plan, and then so what we want to coalesce around and put out there. I think that we need to develop that more than just kind of this throwing a big wide broadcast net, and then also identifying what things are already being done. There's a lot of horsepower for our community already in the area of tourism. Explore Butte County. I know we don't like to talk about this much, but our two casinos spend big money already. We have state parks that's anchored here. They do a lot in the way of marketing the various. So there's a lot going on in that department. Question is, how much more are we just being redundant? I don't know the answer to that, but I think that we need to coalesce a little bit more. I think do a little bit more exploratory questioning, and then once that's done, to have a more focused RFP. So we have the business park, we have the airport. So what are we specifically looking to do, rather than just kind of hoping that we'll hit something, casting this big wide, spending another $75,000 or $100,000 with no real specifically targeted goal, reachable goal. I'm kind of meandering a little bit here in what I'm expressing, but I think that we need to do a little bit more work in the back room with staff identifying some of those things.
Councilman Weber?
Thank you. So, yeah, I actually echo the sentiments of Vice Mayor Smith on this. The question I would have if we're putting it out to RFP is, what are we selling? And, as we've been working through this the last couple of months, I've been thinking about this a lot, and I've been thinking about, what was some of my trepidations with what I was being told or what I was hearing in the messaging from North Star, and I finally figured this out. And what it was is that we were being told who we were. And instead of us telling the story of who we are, we were being told. And so the data collected from points beyond started pointing backwards at us and saying, well, this is what we think of you when we think of Oroville. And so I started like analyzing like large corporations like Disney or Walmart or even McDonald's. And it's like, they are the ones that communicate their brand. They communicate their message. They're the ones that put who they are out, not the other way around. You know, somebody doesn't get to dictate to Disney who they are. And so, we've already got this amazing pool of resources right here in our community where we could tap into it. When back in August, there was Audrey was one of them that was approached. Hardy Lawn, Deborah Wigley, and many others were approached about contributing to this process and design element input, and not one of them were ever called. And so here we are, this much down the road, and then our attempts to bring in the public in that regard were not even met at all. And so I think we missed another great opportunity there. We should have brought Audrey in, we should have brought others in, we should have given them opportunity to give input on just the logo, but as far as building our brand too, because I mean, who are we? What is our tagline? What is the messaging we want to get out? So the question goes back to, I have the question is, if we're going to send the RFP out, then what are we selling? Like, what are we trying to sell? Because shouldn't we know what we're going to sell before we put an RFP out? I think this is definitely a case of putting the cart before the horse, and that we should look at what we're trying to sell. We should look at what it's looking like. Fred Mayo's doing a great job with public works, so that's infrastructure. Pat Pyatt's doing a great job with community development. So then we have messaging that we could bring to the table and say, this is the messaging that we want to put out. But asking for an RFP before we even know that messaging, I think, is backwards. We need to know the messaging first. We need to look at what all those aspects and then bring it. We know the badge logo that's been the survey. It's not terrible. I think it needs to be adjusted to fit our city. But if that's the logo we're going to go with, then, or the style of logo, then let's get community input. Let's build it. Let's see what, and then we can present the package and say, okay, we want you to market this. This is what we're going to do. So I just think this is cart before the horse. And so in that light, I am going to vote no on this item.
Councilman Riggs.
Thank you. I just want to respond in that those are absolutely valid comments and concerns. And as members of that committee, I encourage you to attend those committee meetings and voice those concerns. At one of those meetings where the idea to bring this forward as an RFP was brought, the conversation did go into developing like what that brand guideline is, what those things we're selling is, and providing that to the individuals who eventually win that RFP. So, I mean, I think that you're absolutely right. Being able to provide that brand guideline and that clear direction needs to occur, and I do believe that that was the intention of staff.
I'm going to talk. I think we need to move forward on this because we're just sitting there vegetating, which is a classic example of government doing nothing and talking bureaucratic issues. I mean, that's the reality here. The bottom line here is we have a database product that we paid for that looks at what is the market to our area. Now we need to find out who can provide us something to sell as a service. And certainly, if we have a logo, we had a survey, I understand there's 300 or 400 people contributed to it. I don't know what the end results of that were. I don't even know which one they picked. But that's 300 or 400 people have already, committed to this process. We have to put it out to those that might be interested in participating and bringing their professional expertise to the table. That's the public process that we have. Just that simple. And to me, it's just a matter of, I like the idea of having 3 different mechanisms for someone to contribute to this process to move forward. And I mean, the only way we're going to know what they can offer us is if we ask for it, number one. And certainly we have the final say so what the decision is. I tell you right now, we couldn't decide on anything if we decided to put it right in front of this council today. You know, I just think we need to move forward to get some examples of what could be provided to us locally by the vendors that do this type of work. Just that simple, and that's all we're talking about. That's not committing to anything. It's finding out who would do what for what we need. If you're trying to decide in the background some other amount of information, I can tell you I've seen that going on around here for 40, 50 years. And I've seen 10 different logos, from Set Your Sails to Oroville to a gold miner over here. I've seen this thing change time and time again. And it doesn't really matter what we do. Nobody's going to have the perfect solution. All we're trying to say is we need to sell the community, because right now there's people in this town don't even know we have a fish hatchery. There's kids in this town that never been to a fish hatchery. We don't even do a good job of selling ourselves. I mean, that's the reality. You ask people in Chico where the lake is, they can't tell you. I mean, that's just a simple fact, and it's not a big, complicated thing. We need to have an Oroville logo, and then boom, right behind that, we need a topic of his history. We need a topic of recreation. We need a topic of retail business. We need a topic of restaurants. We need a topic of the museums. We need a topic of all those things that can be in that RFP. How can you put that all together to sell this entire community? And yes, we have infrastructure issues with the city. Those are all topics that should be in the RFP to say, hey, here's what we have in this community, and you tell us how we can sell that. That's really what I'm looking at. You know, I mean, we can argue all day long, but we have to move forward, because an RFP is probably going to take 30, 60 days at least in time-wise. In the meantime, what are we going to do in the meantime? If we're not doing that, then you're kind of vegetating. We're not getting anywhere. So I look forward to moving this thing forward and get something done. Anybody else? Oh, Councilman Smith or Vice Mayor Smith.
Yeah. I fundamentally disagree with about half of what you just said. I think that a lot of organizations have done a phenomenal job on selling and marketing our community. There's amazing content that's out there. There's just a lot of competition in the world today, and people have a lot of choices to make as to where they recreate and what they do and how they spend their discretionary monies, and that's just a harsh reality. But again, that comes back to why I think that it needs to be very targeted. And to be quite honest and frank, I withdrew my support in writing to staff because I felt we needed to have another meeting of discussion before this even came to the council tonight. I mean, that's just the harsh reality. So I'm a little bit disappointed that we're even having this conversation. I felt like we needed another click, to be just blunt. So that's where I'm at on this conversation. I just think we need, so I'm voting no, just on principle at this point. Although we need to, message our community, we need to do a phenomenal job at it. But I think based on the past experience with the previous RFP, with North Star and all that kind of ensued with that, I think it's wise to have a targeted, very targeted areas that we want to achieve and accomplish that are measurable goals that we can come to a consensus and agreement on, and not just kind of this pie in the sky of throwing everything out and seeing, kind of throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks. And it feels like that to me at the moment, that's what we're doing. And so, no, I agree. We need to market, put our message forward, but I think that we need to assess and understand what's going on, what the landscape looks like, and have targeted areas that we've identified that we need to move forward and market, and then write that RFP around that. That's how I feel. But we need to certainly get the word out that Oroville's open and ready for business. Councilman Weber.
Yes, thank you very much. With all due respect, Mr. Mayor, I totally disagree with you. We do not have to move forward with this. If we adopt that attitude, then we will do it hastily. And this is something that I believe was hastily done before. We got a bunch of data for $73,000. I highly doubt public is going to have any more appetite for more money to be spent on this right now when we just spent $73,000 on a bunch of data that I don't hold in very high regard myself, but I know Vice Mayor Smith does, and I know Councilmember Christy Johnson does, and I appreciate that. But anyway, we just got $73,000 for everything that was just done. I don't see how putting an RFP out right now without clearly defined parameters of what our expectations are, very clear, without getting participation from our citizens in a roundtable discussion about what we could do. You know, we didn't, with that, this is vitally important. You said we don't do a good job of selling ourselves, so then I beg the question, so let's hire somebody else to sell us then? I mean, I believe we could do this. We could message together. We could do this. And I think that this is something that I want to shelf forever, but I definitely don't think this is the appropriate time for it. I think this is way cart before the horse right now.
Vice Mayor Smith, I vehemently disagree with your whole supposition that we're behind the 8 ball. And I'm a little bit tired of you procrastinating about stuff that you believe you have representative electorate. I might remind you, sir, I was elected by 2,226 people that only 5 people have talked to me about the whole branding thing at all. The rest of them are quite happy with what we've been doing and moving along the process. And sir, I might remind you that you received no votes in the last election. So if you want to make this a political thing, we'll make it a political thing. I don't think it needs to be. It's a very simple matter of moving the process along. And yes, you're going to be contributing, but to stop the process doesn't do anything. To deadhead the process doesn't get anywhere. And frankly, I take issue with your offensive comments. And I suggest you hold them to yourself because I'm not interested in hearing them. Thank you. Councilman Riggs.
Know that I've been an advocate of this type of project for our community. I didn't know that it was going to be so difficult to convince ourselves that we need to do economic development. I thought that maybe that was why we hired a new community development director, but maybe we just wanted to look nice in an office, I don't know. I think that it's important to heed the advice of staff, but I also think that it's important to play the politics and know that if we have 2 council members, that's what we're hearing at this time, who feel like their input has not yet been adequately heard in order to move forward with a successful RFP. Well, if that's the case, then I would foresee that those contracts, and when contracts come back to us, will be here again. And so it would be my favor to diplomatically delay this maybe until January 1st so that council members have the adequate time to express their specific needs and hopes for such RFP. Because I have to believe, otherwise I need to quit. I have to believe that all of us want to see community growth, that all of us want to have a community who's proud of who we are, and all of us want to see business development and a strong economic future. I question that regularly during these conversations, but I do know in my heart that that is something that we all want. And so if for that sake we need to delay until the meeting in January, then so be it. But I would caution that, man, this project's been more than a year, and we have sought community input. And yes, we did get outside input, but we also got quite a bit of inside input. And we also got our professional staff's input that says, we need help to do this. Yes, this is something we need to do, and it's not something that we have the expertise or capacity to do. And so I want to honor that and not push this much further along. But I also want to honor the opinions and the hopes of our council members and know that we do need, in order to see those goals through, we do need a unified council that can get behind that type of growth and activity.
Goodson.
Sometimes,
Your mic. Your mic.
we can appreciate
There you go.
agreeing to disagree. I know that we have been around this. This isn't our first, second, third rodeo. So do I hear you saying that it's best to put in the parking lot and not entertain a vote tonight?
I feel like that's what I'm saying. So long as we have the promise from the other committee members that they will appropriately address their concerns with staff and with that committee in order for us to move forward. Now, if that's not the game that they want to play and they want to just blockade it, then I'm censoring curse words, then let's just vote and move on and let it die or let it move forward. So that, I mean, I guess I'm putting the ball in their court, and that if they want to move forward in that committee process with staff to define what those RFPs look like, and they're committed to doing that, then great.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, I did want to interject and let you know we do have 2 public comment cards on this item.
Oh, sorry. Yes, let's get to those.
All
real
right,
quick.
perfect. So we're going to begin with Bill Spear and follow it with Audrey Holt.
City Council. You know, I was trying to put my finger on what bothered me so much about this, you know, not just that they're way out of some other state, like we couldn't take care of our own stuff, but tonight it came really clear to me as a member of the Oroville Chamber of Commerce, a paying member that voluntarily pays the fee every month for all of this. Really is right in the preview of the Oroville Chamber of Commerce. How long has it been in Oroville?
Since 1800s.
Since 1800s. And we did a lot of talking about working together. And here we have an Oroville organization that has been here since the 1800s. How many members do we have?
253.
250 businesses of Oroville businesses that pay money into the Oroville Chamber of Commerce to do this. And so we get a little bit of hey, we're gonna do something and put some wind to get our cell moving. And so instead of putting it into the Oroville Chamber of Commerce, and the longer I sit and listen to it, the more angry I got about it. I'm gonna try not to be angry because it don't help out anything. But as a member of the Oroville Chamber of Commerce, I am highly offended that we don't support our Oroville Chamber of Commerce that does this, that specializes in it, that has 270 members that will pour into doing all these things. And if we work together, we are stronger. And I'm glad that this didn't go through. I'm glad I'm sorry that we gave $75,000 to some company in Florida that we could have invested right here in our own Chamber of Commerce. Because not only am I a paying member of the Chamber of Commerce, I'm also on the board. And just like all the other nonprofits, I know what our budget is. I know how much we do with hardly anything at all. And you have people coming in here and saying, yeah, we had a budget shortfall here, and we all jump behind the YMCA, and we should. But what about our Chamber of Commerce? It always gets overlooked because Mr. Councilman Smith is on the chamber here. He could exclude himself when you're voting on it. I say that we put our resources into backing our Chamber of Commerce. It's been in Oroville since the 1800s, has 270 members of people already pouring into it. We're trying to look for the things right here. It's sitting right here. If it was a snake, it would have bit us. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have Audrey Holt.
Not sure I want to put myself in the middle of this conversation right now, but I do have a few things to say. I think that the branding initiative was great. I think that what we went into it to do was very positive. I think through no fault of anyone here, it didn't necessarily turn out the way anyone had hoped. So we're kind of where we are, and we have a lot of public scrutiny and input going on. So I don't want y'all to lose that. In sending out an RFP, even if we're encouraging local people, you're going to get more of the same of what you got before, with companies outside our area are still allowed to apply, as far as I know. So don't lose your local people who are already paying attention. So like Sean had said, that a lot of the people at that meeting weren't contacted. It wasn't just me. There were lots of people with lots of great input that want to talk about the logo and the branding. So I think we didn't get out of the branding necessarily what we thought we would, because there wasn't a focus. There wasn't a clear thought from everyone on council and everyone on staff, hey, this is exactly what we're going to get out of it. Is it going to be an image? Is it going to be a campaign? Like, what are we actually looking for? So I think the information presented about weighting and focusing the mission would be great. That way everybody gets what they want out of it, and we're not just continuing the same thing that we did before, just the second time. And you do have people paying attention, and it's hard to get volunteers. Y'all know that. It's hard to get people here. So the people are paying attention. I don't want to waste the time sending it out for RFPs when you have people here saying, hey, we want to be at the table right now. So that's all I would encourage. Thanks.
Yeah. So I appreciate the support and the sentiment, Pastor Spears, but unfortunately, the chamber can't entertain an RFP because of my position here. That being said, we have amazing partners, whether it's the Downtown Business Association, real smart people there, Explore Butte County, doing the phenomenal, and I have already stated this already. And I apologize if you felt, Mr. Mayor, that my words were personal. They're not. I'm just calling out my observations based on where I do sit, which is over at the chamber. And given some of the controversial elements to the previous work, I just think it's super important that we're laser focused and we feel kind of good about going through that process. And I appreciate Councilwoman Riggs' comments because I'm not dead on this. We need to do it. I felt like we needed to have a little bit more conversation. I wanted to see the logo as we put it out for public comment and vote. I want to be able to process that, look at what people are thinking, hear from the community a little bit more, and then just very, very carefully move forward with an RFP, focusing on some very key elements within our community. I think that we need to highlight areas that EBC isn't doing, or downtown isn't doing, or the chamber isn't doing, that are very key and strategic. And I wanted to have the opportunity, along with Councilman Weber and Councilwoman Riggs, to have that conversation with staff. And so I'm not talking about a year delay or even months and months, just another round of conversation around after we digested everything, so that we're just clear and focused. Not meant to be offensive, not meant to be a challenge with anybody's authority or who got what votes. This is just clearly business of the city, business of the community, digesting some of the concerns that have been voiced from others within the community, that we can really just say, man, I dotted my I, I crossed my T, I feel good about what I'm doing as we move forward. That's where I'm at on this. So this is not, it's just no for tonight. I just want to have another opportunity to meet with the committee, have some conversation, and then we'll get her done. That's where I'm at.
Councilman Weber.
Yeah, thank you very much. First of all, thank you to Councilperson Riggs for your comments. However, my protests do not mean that I don't want community development. This is a worthy and noble cause to pursue, but we need to do it thoughtfully and methodically, and we need to do it, and we need to do it right.
Bless you.
I really want to see citizen involvement at the committee level to give that input that I think is going to be vitally important. I'm not trying to blockade anything, and frankly, to insinuate that is very offensive, because that's not the case at all, because not one time have I ever said I'm going to block this and it's not going to go anywhere, we're going to shelf this forever, not in any of the conversations I've ever had. So to insinuate that is just absurd on its face, because I've never said that. I'm actually trying to represent the concerned citizens. I think it's a very dangerous place to get to a point where we go, well, it's just a few people that have protested it, even though I know that to not be the truth, and then just dismiss those few people offhandedly and be like, oh, it's our decision, we're just gonna dismiss them, that's just the way it is. So I think that's very dangerous territory for us to get into, and I think that we have an amazing opportunity to have involvement from our citizenry that will give us unparalleled and ultra valuable information about where we could go with this initiative, so.
We have no more speakers? I'm looking at consensus, is that what I'm thinking, that we throw this back to the committee to formulate some discussion and maybe.
I'm fine, but I think that give it another 2 weeks or however long.
We'll bring it back to staff.
Okay.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
One question I had, I know there was a survey that went out electronically. Do we have results of that survey?
For the new
logo.
logo?
Yeah.
Did it close yet?
It closed,
Today? Or did
I think it closed last,
midnight last night?
Yeah, right.
I have not seen
and
them
we're,
yet.
Logo,
we're bringing that to the committee tomorrow morning.
community survey.
All right.
Perfect.
Well, the committee will have those results. All right. Next item. 13.
Good evening, Mayor Pittman and council members. Save the best for last.
All right. Yes.
We have another surplus this year of $731,000. I feel like that's kind of misleading, so I do want to get into it a little bit. I promise not to keep you here too late. So when you look at this surplus, we really have two general funds. We have our general fund and we have our district tax fund that are combined at the end of the year because they're both really general funds, but we account for them separately because we have an oversight committee that I have to account for. But when budgeting, we budget for them separate too. So when we budget for the general fund, we go for the balanced budget, revenues equal expenditures, and that's, in a perfect world, it never happens, but that's how we budget. But I want to tell you that in the district tax fund, we had started accumulating a fund balance. So we had a fund balance of about $6 million. And it was just because we weren't able to spend the money. COVID hit and all the staffing challenges, and we didn't get road projects done. So we accumulated a fund balance of $6 million. And that's not our intent, is to use this fund as a, like a reserve or anything. We kind of would like this to be zero every year. So with having an excess fund balance of $6 million in the district tax fund, we budgeted our expenditures about $4 million more than our revenues that year. So in a perfect world, you would see the general fund with revenues equal expenditures zero, and you would have saw the district tax fund with a deficit of $4 million because we were trying to get into that fund balance. We don't want to accumulate a fund balance in there. So the fact that we came out at 731 is still kind of a surplus because we had budgeted for a deficit of $4 million. So I also want to point out that of that 731,000, there's two one-time revenue sources in there that if you took them out, we actually would have had a deficit. So we had $250,000 one-time revenue for the sale of some property at the Southside Community Center, and that came from Butte County. And we also had one-time revenue from Oroville Dam litigation of $573,000. So it's just about $823,000 of one-time money, and that would eat up our surplus. So actually, without that, we would have had a deficit. But I just want you to know that we did budget for a $4 million deficit so that we could start using the fund balance in the district tax fund. And I want to also let you know that for '24, this current year, we did it again. So we did budget expenditures in excess of revenues of like $3.9 million. So we're trying to really get that down to zero. We would like to get it to zero. A couple things that happened in the district tax fund this year. We did buy a one-time purchase of the fire engine of $1.2 million. We had to prepay all of that, even though we aren't going to receive it for a while. But it was offset by the fact that we had $1.5 million of road project money available, but we used other sources and we never spent it. So there was still like a $300,000 surplus in that fund, even though we bought a brand new fire engine. So those are the things I wanted to point out for the surplus. It's kind of, you have to think of it a little different, but face value, we're in the black again. Our debt, I wanted to talk about our debt a little bit. We had the pension obligation bonds. We owe just about $18 million on that. But as we all heard, we just got another $12 million unfunded liability. So we thought that wiped us out for 1 year, and then we got another $12 million. So yeah, we'll be addressing that in future budgets too. So that's kind of bad news. And then the other debt is we owe $11 million in the successor agency bonds, and those will be paid off in 2031. And so those are the things I really wanted to talk about. So if you had any questions.
Liability, what's that?
12 million. 12 million. 12.1 or yeah. Yeah, hopefully they'll do better this year and it might go down, it could go up. It's just it's an estimate.
12 plus the 18?
What's that?
12 plus the 18?
Right. Yeah, the unfunded liability is 12, but our bonds are 18 million. So yeah, that's kind of, and our bonds will be paid off in 2040. So,
Thought it was two-
anyway, we'll be
2035.
addressing that for sure in future budgets. But all in all, the sales tax is kind of leveled out. They didn't predict a huge increase for the next year, but they kind of leveled out for last year. But they do predict it to start picking up a little bit in future years.
PERS isn't doing us very well.
No, and I did want to, I don't know if this is appropriate time, but I did want to get back to Councilmember Johnstone. She asked me to do some research on what it would look like to terminate from CalPERS. So I contacted our municipal finance advisors, and they said, we've never heard of this. And I contacted our CalPERS actuary, and she said she's never heard of it. So people terminate from CalPERS all the time, but it's because they can't pay. And she said, basically, when that happens, all of the benefits are cut for all the retirees. So nobody's heard of anybody voluntarily getting out. So I'm sorry.
Who can afford it?
Yeah.
I mean, we're looking at probably
Yeah,
closer to
it was
100
interesting.
million.
Yeah.
Maybe Napa.
No. Well, many of the large city sales and others are not in PERS.
Well, they've got a healthy
Yeah,
reserve.
I feel like there might be better options, but with the market right now, I feel like if we did a push to get out of CalPERS and then we got into something else that couldn't make money either, I'd probably have to move out of state. So I think we should just, we better just stay with CalPERS for now.
There are some agencies, I'm aware of one that did leave, although it was a county plan, it wasn't CalPERS, although it was similarly situated. For 37 employees, their cost to leave was something like $11 million.
And they did it.
And they did it, and it was,
Oh.
but there, again, but you can sort of estimate, based on how, and they didn't.
Right.
On how many, and that's how many current employees they had. I think they only had a couple of retirees.
Not to mention our retirees.
And so the cost would be, you'd have to contribute 100% of the retirement benefits to CalPERS for your current retirees, and then for the portion of the ones that you have, and then you've got to transfer them to another plan. My estimate is it would be in the hundreds of millions of dollars to get out of
Yes,
CalPERS.
absolutely.
There is a formula to do it.
Yeah, they provided that to us. It's between 126 and $200 million.
That's it.
It's called a hypothetical termination liability.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
So you can terminate, it's
So
a hundred and some odd
it's not
million
going to happen
dollars.
in our lifetime.
Yeah.
When we first started looking into it, it was 72 million to get out, and that's how much it's gone up already.
It was 73 million, 2014, 15.
Wow. Impressed.
For Ruth on the fiscal? Thank you, Ruth.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Item number 15. Mr. Rand?
I just wanted to bring it forward. I know it's common practice for the first meeting in July and the second meeting in November for many jurisdictions to postpone or not have meetings during those periods, 4th of July and Thanksgiving. So just wanted to put this on your radar to see if the council wished to cancel the meeting on Tuesday the 21st. It's the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. And then so that's one thing. And just an FYI, we're going to bring a calendar forward in December, which we'll plan out. We'll make a recommendation for the 2024 calendar year that we do the same thing in July. And so that you folks can plan around that as well. We can always add a meeting if we need to. But given that it is Tuesday before Thanksgiving, just wanted to bring that forward.
Do we need to make a motion?
Oh, I think
Well,
it's really
I
important
think-
that
Please.
we meet.
So my thought is that we,
Do you have a motion?
well, I think that we should.
Maybe don't.
We should not meet the second meeting, but I think that the branding committee should continue that conversation.
Yeah, no, I'm just talking about the Tuesday council meeting.
Okay.
The branding meeting will continue.
Yeah.
You're a troublemaker.
That's my motion.
Let me have a clearer motion.
I
Go
just
ahead.
have a question. I worry about my ability to have a good attitude after 7 o'clock at night. And so are we setting ourselves up to go into the late evening on the first meeting in December?
It's a good question.
You know, we do have a couple of ordinances coming forward. Are those coming on December 5th? I'm looking at Wes now. Yeah. We can split them. I do think it's prudent, I mean, since we do meet on the third week of the month, the December meeting is like the 6th, 17th. So I'm not suggesting we cancel that one either. So we'll have two meetings in December, so we can work the agenda out where we try to balance it for the December 5th and December 19th meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Then
I understand.
I second that.
Moved and seconded.
Thank you.
All right. You want to announce the vote there?
Motion passes with 7 yeses.
All right. Next item is public communication. Anyone in the audience hearing a non-agenda item. Time is up. Do we have a card?
I do have one card from Brian Williams.
Good evening.
Staff, I want to talk about some public safety tonight. I was watching the meeting online when it started, and I saw Linda Draper come in and talk about traffic, so I felt this would be a good meeting to talk about the traffic around my own house. We have the tennis courts and Rotary Park kind of flanking both sides of our house, and we don't have stop signs anywhere between them. So we have 3 city blocks used as a detour of Montgomery Street. And a lot of times Fifth Street, stop sign is non-existent. So they go from First or Second Street all the way down to Feather River Boulevard, up to 80 miles an hour. Since we started getting rain, now we have hot dogs doing 180s in the middle of the intersections, turning around, blowing by our house, flipping another 180, turning back, going back and forth. It feels like Dukes of Hazzard in front of our house. We have off-road motorcycles, all kinds of quads, that type of stuff running on the levee, down on the trails. I don't know what can be done there. Obviously in the streets, it's a little bit easier to figure out how to make it safe for the kids and the people that are traversing the sidewalks and or not the sidewalks in that general area. This Feather River Parks Recreation just got their new lights at the tennis courts. So I'd like to kind of follow up on what the MOU with the lighting is. That's going to be supposed to be provided on the backs of their lighting system for the levee. And I figured that once their lights got in, that it made you guys completely available and their panel was suitable for more electrical use. So I'd really love to see or be put into touch with the people that are going to make that happen, because that would give us a little bit more security on our corner of town. Since the barricades got put up on the levee at the end of Rotary Park at First Street, it's been a humongous difference along the levee and behind our house. Once the cars were gone, obviously we have slightly different elements settling in. There's a number of trees back there that have not been maintained like the rest of the trees along Centennial Parkway, where the canopies are brought up to about 10, 12 feet, matching Firewise Safe Council type fire protections. I would highly recommend if the city works or whoever could get in there and raise those trees up so there could be a line of sight from the new barricade all the way past to Fifth Street at the back of the tennis courts. And I know it's possible, it just needs to be cleared out and raised up. That would again, minimize the amount of resources that my wife and I are having to use to call the city police and MLEs to try to keep things moving along. I know my time's getting short. The one of the biggest things that I'm really wanting to look forward to talk tonight about is warming fires. Since it's been getting cold and we've lost our hour of time, we smell plastic almost every night. And when we call, well, either they don't get to come or whatever's happening. So I've spoke with Belzer, and Belzer said that, please give me a few more seconds. City staff, police officers, code enforcement, CAL FIRE, to have a unified approach.
Gotcha.
And the city of Oroville should not allow warming fires because one, it's supposed to be on private property with many regulations to keep it safe. And all these fires that are happening on the levee and along the trails are none of those things. Last year they cut the fire pits out in Bedrock Park to minimize it.
Right,
Now the fires are on the ground. And so it hasn't solved the problem and it's taken resources away from the food systems in the community. So I don't know who can help me in the area. I've got with Fred tonight on some of the traffic issues. And I'm sorry I went so long. The last thing about the YMCA, I didn't get to sign up for a card. Find some Measure U money. Investing in kids and senior citizens is investing in public safety. Thank you guys very much tonight. Appreciate your time.
That's all I had, Mayor.
A lot of work there, future agenda items, correspondence. We didn't have council reports on Mike's list, so I don't know why we didn't do that.
I don't
We
remember.
had the BK
I don't
meeting
remember.
last week or the week before, and I just want to mention that. All right, we had the BK meeting last week, and I just want to say that our projects are not off the table. They're still in discussion. They had a listing and priority of projects, so the best thing about it is we have projects, requests for roads to be done, and it's still moving forward. Just that simple, so. And I know Ivan was going to be talking to you folks and work with that, so I appreciate BK's help with Oroville getting some road money to do some road projects. Anybody else have a council report or committee report to add?
I've been a lot of places, I guess.
Well, something that the rest of us should know about.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. I will share that the ORAC had a meeting and they presented the new campground for the After Bay Outlet. They're going to be putting a perimeter campground, so I got copies of that. I'll send them around so everybody can see that. That apparently is a funded item. It's going to happen. So Sabutka is doing the design work on it. So other than that,
I have council reports.
go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to share on behalf of the Downtown Business Association that the Christmas preview is November 18th. That's a Saturday. It's a really lovely event and a great way to support your local businesses and also performing arts. And then Small Business Saturday is the following weekend. That's the Saturday after Thanksgiving. So I just encourage you all to visit your local businesses. We know that our local businesses are the heart of our economy, so please do so.
Okay. Councilman Thompson, or no?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Mine's for future agenda items.
Okay. Go ahead.
One is, there's been a lot of talk about speeding and whatnot. I'd definitely be just your thoughts or proposals to the council for speed humps. You know, I'm fully in favor, especially in our, you know, not down Montgomery, but a lot of the other streets of permanent speed humps. I think you see them, you know, if you drive in Sacramento in the neighborhoods, they're everywhere. So I'd love to see your recommendations on that for our community. The second item I would love for this, I think it's important for this council to bring up back. A couple of years ago, this council bypassed the recommendation from the Planning Commission for the alcohol permit for the store on the corner of Feather River Boulevard and Montgomery. I think Gold City.
Margaret.
One of the concerns that was brought up was about advertising in the windows and whatnot, and there was very clearly communicated that the city of Oroville has ordinance as far as, you remember this conversation, Mr. Huber, as far as how much signs can be now, and it was, this can be followed. Now literally the whole front of the store is massive banners advertising alcohol. Is one of the first stores you come into the city of Oroville. And to me, it's like a slap in the face because we brought that up in the consideration.
That's right.
I voted against the permit going forward. I thought we should go with the planning commission. But anyway, the council, in good faith, voted to see it go forward. And now this company has completely gone the opposite, not just placing things in the window, but going above and beyond that, putting huge banners on the outside that are all advertising alcohol. When one of the other things that they said when they were going to open up was, we're not going to be a liquor store. Liquor is going to be a component of our mini market. And now we see that it's Gold City Liquor, and they have advertisement for alcohol and full on the outside of their stores. And so I'm pretty upset about it. So I would love, I think it's not only love, I think all of those posters need to come down according to our city ordinances immediately, and them to be reminded of what they said on their word, what they were going to do and what they were not going to do. So I think action needs to be made on that right away.
A second.
Yep.
On both of those
So
items.
consensus.
Did you want staff to look into that and?
Sure.
And-
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Maybe-
Or do you want an actual agendized item, or do you want staff to look
I
into
think
that?
it doesn't need to be agendized because we
Yeah.
already have an ordinance on it.
Yeah, no,
Have a
and
conversation with
frankly, I
them.
looked into this a couple months ago, and but I'll look into it again.
Okay.
It sounds like they may
There
have
were-
said something that's not in
There were certain
writing.
commitments that were made in the meeting itself. And
Right.
I think those were incorporated in the motions that were made.
Okay.
were.
I'll pull the meeting and send,
Okay.
I'll send a link to you.
Okay.
I believe it's within the permit requirements.
That's what I thought it was within the permit requirements.
Yeah.
Right.
Just revisit that.
And so.
It was a conditional
it's
use
It's something
permit.
that we can take a look at and just provide a written response to you on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the code, they were to follow the grocery store, standard amount of floor space for alcohol, signage, and so many square feet, yeah.
That's my recollection of the exact meeting.
Yes, no, that
Yep.
was what was
20%.
very,
Yeah, they were like, we're not a liquor
20%
store. This is going to
for
be a
liquor.
convenience store with alcohol on the side. And it's like, oh, well.
Yeah. So that's a code
Not what they're
enforcement
doing.
thing, so.
Chrissy?
Smith?
I got nothing.
All right.
I'm-
Thompson, sorry. Smith, go ahead.
Yeah, so I just, also just reiterate Councilwoman Riggs about downtown. So December 1st is going to be the tree lighting. So that's also going to be really a cool event. And then the 9th is going to be Parade of Lights. So I just want to remind the community, those are two really well-attended events, a lot of fun. And then just to double down on the YMCA, there's still tickets, I believe, available for their Festival of Trees Holiday Gala this Friday night. It's $50 a person.
Um,
Are we,
I want to quick mention too, we have the Veterans Parade coming up Saturday, correct? Yeah. Go ahead.
Where are we at on that? Because
Yeah.
traditionally, I brought that up to Kayla the other day. So we usually are in that.
So I've reached out to Oliver Perry. He and I have been in communications. The good news is that he had already anticipated the city's participation inside of the parade, so we're all set up for that. I sent out an email earlier this morning to all of the council members saying if they would be interested in participating in this parade, and I have additionally sent out an email to all staff members to see if any of them are veterans, if they'd like to participate in the parade and take part in that, so that they can also be recognized for their service. So currently I'm just waiting on any staff members to get back, and then also for the council members to get back to me, and then I will be arranging it from there.
But any city staff that are military veterans, we would provide them transportation to parade them, so I'd be happy.
Yes.
That should be happening, so.
Perfect, thank you.
Cool. Who's up next? Councilman Weber.
Yeah, thank you. So back to the signage on that store, was that 2 months ago that you and I talked about it?
I might have even been more than that.
Yeah. Because I remember
looked into it.
I remember the day that I pulled off the freeway and seen the first one of the two banners. I was like, "That's a huge banner," and so I think I called you. And did Mr.
Yeah.
Huber get involved in that? Or?
I'm not sure. I remember looking
Yeah.
in, looked in the
Because
code.
because
and
the answer I got back now, unless you guys are saying that under the special use permit there was some kind of conditionality
Conditions,
around
yeah.
it.
There was.
Okay, because
Yes.
the answer I got back was that no, there was no restrictions on the walls,
Yeah.
but that there was restrictions on the windows.
Windows, yeah.
Right. So it sounds to me like there was definitely restrictions.
There were restrictions on the content of what they sell
On
as
the
well.
content.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we'll have to go back and we'll go back and pull exactly what
Yeah.
was approved and what was discussed at the meeting.
Well, and we have the temporary sign ordinance.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm absolutely in favor. I've known Mitch and George for, I don't even know how long, but I'm in favor of holding them accountable to
Accountable.
whatever their words were.
Yep.
Because I agree, when you pull off the freeway and when you could read that vodka sign from the freeway, that's a problem, you know? So,
Not if
and you
you're
can.
looking for
So,
Not if you're looking for vodka.
So
well, no, there it is, found it. So, yeah, anyways, I'm in
Yeah, I know.
super favor of that.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm like that.
looks like we're all done. With that being done, there are a number of correspondence and staff reports here that you're certainly welcome to see. Subject to that, this meeting will be adjourned. For the next regular meeting of the Oroville City Council will be held December 5th.
Number 5th.
December 5th at 4 PM. Thank you all and have a good evening. We're done. Adjourned.